Should be good?
Okay. I think we have audio now.
We have audio.
Right.
All right. We have audio. All right. Welcome back, everybody.
OBS changed everything. So
sorry about
guys.
that. We just reinstalled
I had to reinstall OBS outside of everything.
Just seeing that fresh haircut's enough, dude. Everybody's good now. Everybody is absolutely satisfied. They were happy with that. Do you see how young he looks?
He looks great.
He does look fantastic. All right. A shout out to Sport Cut, by the way, on Spring Mountain and Decatur, something like that. We love them over there. They do a great job for our students. Okay. We're going to get right to it. Today we are with a very special guest of ours, Jen.
Hello.
And Jen, interestingly, is a good friend of Alex.
Yeah, we actually went to high school together.
Oh my God, that was like 2 years ago? Was that back when Alex still had hair? I'm just wondering. I'm wondering that. I'm asking that question.
He had hair.
Show your
he
head,
played
sir.
an instrument.
There he is, buddy. Yeah, rub it for good luck. That's the new Buddha. He played an instrument?
He did.
Oh my God, what did he play?
He had a massive backpack he would carry around. And I didn't remember what instrument it was, but he plays the violin, and I was a Japanese major. But I'm not Japanese.
You're not Japanese?
No, I'm not Japanese.
Really?
I'm Filipino and German.
Oh.
Yeah. So I disappointed my parents twice.
Wow. You kick ass and drive a tank. Nice. Okay. There's a few memes out there, I think, that... all right. So, wait. You disappointed your parents? What happened?
Oh, I didn't take Tagalog. I didn't learn
Oh,
Filipino.
you didn't learn the Filipino language.
Or
Well, that's
German.
disappointing. Or German?
No,
but you're
I
learning Mandarin, strangely
Yeah.
enough. Good
Just
for
fun.
you.
Those Asian dramas on Netflix really get you.
No, that's for true. Okay, so so you grew up in gaming
Yes.
since you've been an adult, basically.
Yes.
And you have gotten to the highest levels of human resources.
Yes, that is true.
100%. In fact, you were responsible for a very big contract at CEG. That's how I met you.
Yeah.
Alex, actually, we're not going to mention the casino.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to give you a little backstory. So Alex says, hey, we have someone. It's the middle of the pandemic, by the way.
Yeah.
Not a lot of students coming in the door.
Yeah, we actually were in Scott Morrow's class, happened to both go there on the same day.
Oh,
and
really?
That was how we reconnected.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because he calls and he's like, yeah, I met my friend. Mm-hmm. And they need some dealers. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go down and have a meeting and we're going to, kind of work this out. And I was like, fantastic, dude. It's the middle of the pandemic. There's not a lot of good news at the time.
Yeah, very true.
Casinos were basically either shut down or slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
They were at limited occupancy.
Yep.
Our dealer school was at we were at 25%. We had just reopened, by the way. We're at 25% only. Mm-hmm. Eventually it went to 50%. We were able to split the occupancy. And so we go and meet you. Mm-hmm. And I was like... are you sure this is the... No, because you look so young. I was so used to seeing, like, old men in these roles. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah,
And you
very
were so
much.
nice, and you seemed you were just so knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And it was such an
thank you.
easy conversation to have. You were very, very well informed about, the process. I mean, gaming, especially when it comes to dealers, is sort of a specific line.
You've got to know what you're talking about. That's
Yeah.
the biggest way you can earn credibility in gaming as HR is you have to not only know your business in HR, you got to know everybody else's business as well.
So I think the first thing I definitely want to put out there is, thanks to this relationship, you were very instrumental in, I always go back to our fans. So our fans, this YouTube channel has had a really huge impact in keeping us alive, but you very specifically put a ton of money in our bank account, at least. I mean, you covered us for several months. What was interesting is a lot of the money we made from that contract went to refunds for students that had been, getting out, that had signed up pre-pandemic, and then had they didn't think the casinos were coming back. But what was amazing is how much hope. You guys might be able to guess. We don't want to say it specifically, but I will say this: the fact that this casino opened successfully in the middle of the pandemic was really sort of, it demonstrated that Vegas has this whole comeback thing going, the comeback story. That no matter how much was, because everybody thought that was the end, right?
Yeah, people thought Vegas was dead.
Vegas was dead.
People from outside of Vegas were sending me messages,
Yeah.
and I'm throwing recruitment events, and they're like, "What's going on? I thought everything was dead in Vegas."
Yeah. Who's gonna come to Vegas when there's, you could catch a cold? You know, you could come here and you don't want to be at a convention. Why would you be next to a slot machine next to somebody else?
Right.
How are they going to redo Vegas to make it user-friendly for people who don't want to sit next to you?
Yeah.
You follow?
Oh, yeah.
You know, the buffets are closed, casinos are closed. So, but here comes this casino, decides to open in the middle of the pandemic and does well. You know, it's a very successful opening. It was a fantastic event. But I know we have to thank you. And I know that that was a very special thing.
You know, honestly, for me, it was like a symbiotic relationship, you know, because we needed the folks, and I don't know what we would have done without you. And it was nice to put people either back to work or, you know, working in that for the first time as a dealer. So it was good all around. And, you know, offering the jobs when we were at the dealer school, I mean, we had a lot of people in tears, a lot of people just so thankful because they were out of work for months, you know, before we opened, and no, it was good all around. We
ultimately employed 87. We had one of the highest retention rates as well. These people, not only did they get a job, they kept a job. They were new to gaming, and I mean, all around, it was a huge success story. I still look back on you know, a lot of what we did, and you're right, there were quite literally. I know some of the people that came to come back to the school. In fact, some people come back to the school and moved on to other jobs.
Sure.
You know, and they've evolved and come back and taken other courses. We just had one recently who took SR.
Okay.
Which is an advanced, you know, roulette course because they're looking to get into, you know, one of the top casinos on the Strip.
Sure.
And it really was a fantastic experience. And during the same time, we experienced a lot of growth in YouTube. Yeah. And we made, you know, a lot of changes to our, you know, our business model. But overall, anyways, a fantastic time. All right, let's get to it. So as you should know, Jen has been a vice president of human resources for casinos downtown, on the Strip, different levels. You've worked in the Indian. You've worked for an Indian casino, tribal casino,
tribal gaming. So I came up in Vegas. Really started, you know, like. I started working in the spa and salon at like Caesar's Palace.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, I was in school.
Yes.
Fell into HR, worked on the Strip at multiple properties in HR. I've worked downtown, opened a property there. I've worked regionally. I've worked in Maryland, West Virginia, Ohio, Sacramento most recently, and Tribal. Yeah. And now I am back home in Vegas working with a hospitality company. So,
that's fantastic. So we're going to be able to answer a lot of questions. We got a lot of ground to cover. Before we do that, we should say hello to everybody. I heard some dings. Should we do the dings?
So
Alan Toy.
Uses his member chat thing.
Okay.
Says, picking up the new CQ corporate vehicle on Thursday. 2 months to go. Get ready for some major stroking.
Oh, I know. He's got to make some money. Stick to squeeze play, buddy.
Wait. He said one important thing at the end. He said, Grandpa David.
Oh, God. What a little bastard. I've got 5 grandkids. Thanks, Devin. We're coming out and seeing you, Devin, very soon.
The next one is from our very own Reno, who's sitting in the front right now.
Oh, I know. He's literally dialing in.
Gave us $10 super chat.
Wow. How can he afford that? Do I pay him that much? I mean, what's going on?
He said, I should go back to work.
Yeah, you should go. Get back to work, you little bastard. You know what we are going to do, though? Again, we're going to give away some stuff. I've got 2 hats here. So we'll do hat number 1, hat number 2. Hat number 1 is going to be one of our Casino Quest white hats. We'll get to that, Dennis. Don't let us forget this time. And hat number 2 is going to be the Genius hat. These are becoming hot items. So we got our Casino Quest hat. We got the Genius hat. All right. That's going to be 100 and 200. And there we go. All right. So we're going to start off this whole interview with the one big question is, you ready?
Ready.
Why do I want to work for a casino?
Oh, such a great question. I think that as someone who's really only worked in gaming, I can't imagine a more fun way to spend your career. There's always something going on. There's always something that's changing. Every day is different, and you end up learning so much. I mean, my whole career has been in HR the last 14 years, but I know a lot about gaming as well. Yeah. And for me, that's always so exciting. And to be with a company who is looking to continue to grow, then there's always new opportunities for you as well. I like to tell people, in gaming, there are jobs, but you can also make it a career. So there are so many stories that I know of where they became like global vice presidents in a company and started as a fry cook.
Yep.
You know, and I'm sure you've probably got a few of those stories as well.
A ton of stories.
So they do, you know, they can put the investment back in the team member, which is really nice. And there are some good perks, some good benefits working for casinos, depending on which one you work for.
That's
Sometimes the benefits are a little better than others.
Yep.
But yeah.
I 100% agree. Lots of upward mobility.
Tons.
Lots of lateral mobility. I know a dealer that went to an accounting school here in Vegas, wanted to be an accountant, ended up working as a CPA for the same casino that they work for, and ended up years later getting promoted to chief operating officer. Actually, first started chief financial officer, CFO, then COO. I mean, I know in Lynn Station casinos, they famously have a celebration video.
Oh, yeah?
Where they show someone who was basically a bus person who ended up being a vice president of gaming for their property. I also know someone in MGM, a good friend of mine, who started out at the front desk at the MGM, ended up being an EVP for hotel operations. I mean,
it happens a lot. It just requires like ambition, drive, being open to learning, open to taking feedback. But the nice thing about the casinos is a lot of them have tuition reimbursement programs. It helped me through school. I owe a lot to some of the places that I worked for, and you know, they teach you the stuff that you don't learn in school.
That's right.
That is so, you know, pivotal to your professional career, like how to write a good email, you know, or what not to wear into the office. Like they just don't teach you that.
That's a great thing I think about being in the casino environment. Starting early is you get this hands-on, you get applied training, right? I know I worked in politics for a minute, and you know, you have all these poli-sci majors.
I was a poli-sci major.
Oh, really? and they show up and they want to talk theory, and they want to go in, they want to work on their laptop, and then you give them a door knocker and like, just start with this. And they're like, really? Yes, you do. You have that 4-year degree. Congratulations. But now put this on a door somewhere and let them know that the candidate's coming. Because there's real work, you know, so you can only learn so much sitting at a desk. The great thing about being involved with a casino, even if you don't, like for me, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't have a passion per se, right? I found this crap table. I really loved it. Of course, you know, the bar is low for craft dealers, strangely enough. You really don't need a lot of college education, but it was offered, right?
Yeah.
And here I had all this practical training. I learned how to run a pit. I learned how to mic the dice. I learned how to manage employees. You know, I had all these people that took me under their wing and mentored me, and I could point to all these different people in different departments that gave me these new skill sets. And now I can only imagine if I actually went to college and took advantage of those tuition reimbursement, right?
Yeah.
Now I have all the critical thinking and a lot of things you learn in college, and now I have this applied fundamentals. But yeah, so
absolutely.
The benefits, the casinos by far, I think, outside of a few other rare industries, has some of the best benefits around.
Agreed. And it depends, right, on the one that you work for.
Of course,
But some of the ones I can tell you, just on the Strip, right, almost everywhere provides free meals. Right? Almost everywhere. And that, I remember being a hungry college student and starting work on the Strip and going, wait a minute, I don't have to like pay for lunch. I don't have to bring my own food. That was amazing. You know, they do a lot for team members. That's how I came up, was doing team member engagement with the farmers markets. And, you know, I threw back to school fair, you know, with like 3,000 students getting backpacks full of school supplies for our team members' children, you know, and like they do so much and give back to the community. And, you know, on top of that, the medical benefits, all of that good stuff, the upward mobility.
The MGM has a nurse behind the MGM.
Yes.
They have literally a nursing office there. Some of them have had their own sort of banking relationship. So if you want to open up a bank, you can schedule an appointment.
Absolutely.
They have the back in the day, West Star Credit Union, literally sitting right there.
It's like Casino Credit Union, I think now.
Oh, is it really? But you know, like Bally's, Caesar, they have their own like nursing, and they have now they have the phone-in stuff. I mean, you can't.
Fitness centers. When I was with Caesars, we got one free. Every team member could take advantage of one free personal training session per week if they wanted to. I think Wynn or MGM, I forget who, they have a child care center as well. So like there's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah, because child care for many people is a big deal. I know Station has benefits like that. I mean, if you're a single mother, especially, it's hard to get and be upwardly mobile.
Absolutely.
If you have a kid. I know that's been a cog for, I wouldn't say the kid's a cog. Not having childcare is a cog. You know what I mean? I know. Sorry, that was a little bit of a, having your kid is getting in the way of your advancement. No. Strike that. Reset. Okay. Yeah. So why work for a casino is really just so many reasons to work for a casino.
Plus, it's fun, and if you got good coworkers,
yeah,
makes the day go by.
You can have a lot of fun, and if you don't, you just leave. You move on to the next casino.
Right.
I guess okay, we're gonna move on, but there's one other thing I think that is very interesting about the casino dynamic that I don't find in a lot of other. They have these peer groups.
Yeah.
That you
the
can.
Business resource groups.
The human resources groups that where you can so. This is an at-will work state. So basically, if the casino wants to, technically, they could just fire you for no reason or no reason, right? But they have their own reasons. They keep their own reasons, right? No, here, fill me in, educate me.
Yeah, so I mean, it is an at-will state, but there should always be a reason, because we get questioned by, DEETR, the Department of Education, Training, and Rehabilitation, also known as the Unemployment Agency.
Yep.
And team members are also not shy about, you can claim discrimination through your unemployment filing. You can go to the Labor Relations Board and everything. So it's unlikely that you could get terminated for doing nothing. But I will say that introductory period is a bit of a free pass.
That's it. The first 90 days.
Typically the first 90 days.
Yeah.
If you're a salary team member, sometimes it is 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So that is that time, during which they could pretty much kind of pull the cord with very little repercussions that could be brought forth.
Yeah. I used to know there was a casino famously here in town that for the holidays they would go ahead and ramp up for that 89 days.
Yeah.
And then day 90, you got your notification, you're out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me that they're,
well known. But so the peer groups is interesting here in this state because, with casinos, almost every casino not every casino, but a lot of them, where if something should happen, because there are supervisors who are, for a lack, better word, a bit crazy, maybe don't have all the HR experience they need.
Lacking in skill. Managerial courage.
Yes, because there's a lot of deal, especially in the dealer and the gaming environment. There's what they call dealers in suits. People that have been promoted don't necessarily have a high college degree.
Yeah.
And they're never given sort of the lessons about how to properly interact with your employees, and so they don't like you. There's something about you they don't like, or
they just handle it in a certain way that's not appropriate.
And you have a peer. You can say, "Hey, I don't like how I'm being treated."
Mm-hmm.
I can go to my peer group, or I can raise the issue. I mean, and the casinos give you lots of sort of flexibility to be comfortable, right, and to communicate.
I think so. I think the best ones will put you at almost like a buddy system, or a mentor system where they can say, hey, this is your person.
Yeah.
You have your supervisor. This is your peer that you're essentially going to shadow, and you go to them for these things. And it is helpful. I do think that training and onboarding can always be better at a lot of places. It does fall by the wayside. Nobody's perfect, but that's probably the biggest barrier to retention. Because if you get thrown into a situation you don't know what you're doing, it never feels comfortable, and you don't want to come to work.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, God, this is the easiest conversation I've ever had. Jen, we've been having this conversation with casinos forever about retention.
Yeah.
And trying to talk to them about, they wonder some of the highest turnover rates that any job, any business experiences is on the casino floor, the dealer floor.
Yes.
And, in some cases, I have literally just heard of a casino that had, in 1 month, had an 80% turnover at casino dealers. And we can point directly to some of the things that you're talking about right now. And you have these casinos you have a stone-faced supervisor, and you're talking to them, and they just don't believe it. They're like, listen, I realize this was an anomaly.
Yeah.
We're doing everything right. You can't possibly be doing everything right if 80% of your employees have chosen to leave in 1 month.
Correct.
There are definitely deficencies.
Yes.
Okay, but let's move on to
before you get too far.
Go ahead.
We have a couple super chats.
Oh.
LV Degen gave
Yes.
us $5. Says, I have nothing important to say. Just want to throw a little coin at y'all.
Hi, LB.
See you in November and
Yay.
December.
Yes. We do have we're going to be coming out with details. We have a very interesting collaboration in the works that we are going to be announcing very soon with what was or sort of is known as one of the biggest gamblers and one of the biggest vloggers. So we're going to be putting that out soon. Okay, go.
Shamaki, I might have butchered that, but
You butchered it.
love the channel and love all the roulette videos.
Thank
Never
you.
really done roulette, but I'm going to try it this Vegas trip in October.
All right,
Nice.
fantastic.
Matthew,
Welcome.
the
Hi.
best ice cream man. gave us
Matthew,
10
the best ice cream man? That's his name?
yeah.
Okay, who has the best ice cream? I want to know. Just tell me that. Can he text it quickly?
Maybe, yeah, but I won't get to see it for a bit.
It all depends on where you live. If you, wherever you are, regional ice cream, it always beats. I used to have this place called
Okay,
Moolman's.
no tangents today.
Oh my god,
Ten-
we're going on the ice cream
$10
tangent.
super
No
chat.
ice cream tangent. Thank
Says
you.
trying to get into poker dealing, looking to move to a new market, very interested in CEG and Vegas, and I'm very interested in finally getting started. I've been a fan of you for over a year now.
This Friday, we're going to be posting all the details of the new poker class. In fact, I'm going to try to post it tomorrow. This poker class, we got 2 tables working. Next poker class, probably the same. We had a lot of people asking, so just stay tuned. Next poker class, we're going to post before Friday, probably either tomorrow or Friday. Sound good?
D1 Keys has a question for Jen. Says, I applied for a casino marketing job a week ago and still haven't heard back. When should I move on? How do I stand out to HR? Resume? Cover letter?
That is a great question. It's not easy. What I do is I look for the folks who would be managing that position on LinkedIn. I try to shoot them a message. If it's a job I do care about, I do put together a cover letter, and it cannot be a generic cover letter. You want to look at that company's mission, vision, values, what they've actually put into the job description, and see how much of their own verbiage you can kind of work back in there.
Oh.
So you're speaking their language, and I feel like subconsciously it
Wow.
resonates with the
That's
employer.
fantastic, yeah.
Right? To say like, oh wow, they're saying all the things that we already believe in, and they're drinking our Kool-Aid. But if you can find a contact who would speak with you, that's always the best way to get your foot in the door. I would try, one email maybe, or giving a phone call to the employment center. If there is one, you can actually reach somebody. Mm-hmm. These days, that is not an easy thing to accomplish. A lot of places won't even put their phone numbers out, or their, it's not like the old days where you could drop off a resume, So it's really, I think, LinkedIn, and if you find a phone number, you find an email, shoot them, 1 or 2, and if you don't hear back, you probably just want to move on.
Yes. In fact, we're gonna go into that in more detail. It's very interesting. So we talk about we have this job network, and the casinos that we work with, we sort of back channel everything.
Yeah.
So we're able to bypass
nice.
that. We're gonna talk about sort of that in a second. Because so the process does take a while for casinos, because casinos uniquely go through this whole process.
Yeah.
It's not like getting hired at Casino Quest where we
Right.
check for a pulse and move on. We're like, we have to look at your ID, make sure you're old enough to work. But besides that, really, that's how Dennis got hired, kind
I was
of thing.
gonna say, is that what happened with Dennis?
And a good haircut. No, he had a lot of hair, dude. His
Actually,
haircut
I got
sucked.
hired for media, and then
Is that what it was? Oh my god. Okay, so the process for casinos is a little more involved.
Yes, definitely.
Because you're working in a regulated environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what can you kind of outline the process?
Sure,
Yes.
definitely.
All right, go.
I was like, this is like bread and butter.
Oh,
okay.
good. Yeah, good.
So casinos, gaming is one of the most, if not the most regulated industry. I had a compliance vice president for a corporate. It was the largest regional gaming operator in the country. And she said to me, I came from big pharma. We are more regulated than big pharma.
Wow.
So there's so much that we have to do and have to meet. You have to have different work cards for different positions. So you should know that going in and be prepared for it. Is it a union position? Do I need a union referral? Do I need a TAM card or some alcohol safety card? Do I need a health card or a food handler's card? What are all the things I can already have ready that aren't going to be a barrier to me getting hired? And it is rough because it is money out of the applicant's pocket prior to having the job, so it is an investment. But on our side, there's typically, for most front-facing or front-of-house positions, there are at least 2 interviews. They do, it's very typical in the gaming industry to do I guess we could call it like a personality interview, you know?
Personality's big.
Yeah. So there's a first round that's typically in a group setting. We call them panel interviews, or I've called them auditions, casting calls, that kind of thing. We're in a room with like 20 other people, and there are maybe 3 leaders, various leaders from different departments at the front, and they're just going to ask you silly off-the-wall questions, and they want to get to know your personality. Is this someone that I trust to be composed in front of a guest when that guest is staring down at them, screaming at them, you know? How are they going to deliver the best guest service? And that's probably the first step. The second step, you'll move on to the actual interview with the hiring manager. Well, they'll ask you specifically about your skill set, your experience. And then if you pass all that, you get hired. You have to, for most positions, you have to do a gaming application. So there's a lot of talk in recent years around ban the box and that kind of thing, which is that little checkbox on your application that says, have you ever been convicted of a felony? And so in a lot of states, you're not even allowed to ask that question anymore. But in gaming, that's a big thing. If you have a felony, you are not going to get a gaming license. Pretty much full stop. It depends on how long ago it was. If you're out of probation, what state you're in, you know, who your regulators are. But that it tends to be the biggest barrier is getting that gaming license. And then, of course, well, now a lot of places don't even drug test. And if they do drug test in the state of Nevada, by law, they do not test for THC. It is against the law to test for THC as a component of pre-employment.
However, we're going to get to that later. We're going to get to some of that later, yes. But
yes, unless your job is regulated by the DOT, the Department of Transportation, or your, it's a safety issue. But that, I think, helped a lot because I remember being in Baltimore and the company I worked for were still doing hair tests.
Oof.
And imagine being in Baltimore trying to test people for drugs with hair going back 6 months.
Everybody's positive.
Yeah, it was a joke.
I rode the bus over. Rode the bus over.
So the property I was at, I think, was like the first property in that company to then go to urine testing, and then eventually they just don't test at all. Like MGM, I don't think drug tests. Caesars, I don't think they drug test anymore. And then, the background check as well, depending on how many places you've lived, it can take some time to come back. But if you've only lived in 1 or 2 places, those things come back like 48
Pretty
hours.
quick.
Yeah.
So what about the credit check?
So credit checks are... They, in my opinion, should be fairly rare, and there are different levels to it as well. So if you're a cage cashier or you're looking for a money handling job, there's potential that you might get a credit check. And what they're looking for is, do you have so much debt, or do you have, you're so far behind on certain payments that you could potentially be used or a target of blackmail, and then you would then be influenced to steal money from the casino. But typically the places that are having a higher level of credit checks are going to be your manager and above positions, especially if you're in finance. If you're a CPA or an accountant, they're probably going to be running a credit check on you.
It used to be here in Vegas, all the top tier casinos ran credit checks.
Really?
So if you were a dealer, as a dealer, if you were looking to be a dealer at, Aria, Bellagio, you're probably going to have a credit check.
Credit check.
If you're dealing downtown, you can smoke all the weed and have the worst credit possible and still get hired. Because I've gotten a lot of people, right? The bar is a bit lower. I mean, you need employees. If you checked for weed, you would have zero people.
You'd have nobody. You'd have absolutely nobody.
Not to say you guys are all smoking pot, but let's just say, you know what I mean?
It is
what it is. It is legal. Go
in
have
this
fun.
state, it is legal.
So interestingly, there is one casino network that I know of who has told me very explicitly that until the federal laws change, they're willing to run amok of the state law because they're afraid that there are insurance issues as far as testing for marijuana.
Interesting.
And it was sort of told secretly to me, and I explained the law in there, and this person said, well, I understand the law. We understand the law, David, because we actually had one of our students was denied a job as according to them for failing.
They must be
test.
They must be super low on.
It's a smaller, it's a smaller property, but it was just, but they operate in multi states. So maybe the fact that because federal law is still against the law, and if something should happen to you while you're at work, because that falls under the workers' compensation, and what's the
Well, the EPL, general liability.
Yeah.
Insurance.
So then they test you
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
And because they want to make sure that what influenced this
100%.
accident, and so if you were influenced for some reason, I know I refer back to, I know the supervisor who was really great.
Mm-hmm.
They passed the law. He was ecstatic because
Yeah.
he had pain issues, chronic pain issues,
Yeah.
and he was, and everyone knew he did, and the casino was fine with it, but
Mm-hmm.
a customer spit on him. And it forced him to, because of that interaction, to
Yeah.
get, and of course he wasn't going to pass it, so he just resigned.
Oh, so he was going to get tested.
He was
going
gonna
to
get tested. Yeah.
Yeah, for any biohazard contamination.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
we'll
So
say.
he just left because then it fell under
that's a
federal
shame.
statute. Yeah, and then
That's a
so,
shame.
but anyways, all right. So it's interesting, this whole process. The other thing too is the casinos don't foot the bill for the licenses.
Correct.
You have to pay those.
That's correct. So casinos do pay for your background check, your drug test, but for your work cards, and a gaming license could be considered that. If you're paying for your fingerprinting, you're paying for your license.
Yeah.
It is a good investment though, because one, it's actually pretty cheap here. You go to any other state and it is off the walls. I mean, yeah, it's. I think in Maryland it was like north of $400 for a gaming
Louisiana
license.
in the 90s was $400.
That's wild.
As a supervisor.
Absolutely wild.
$400. I didn't have to pay it though, thank God. I was hired as a manager,
So they
and the
foot
boat
bill
paid
for
it.
you.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But luckily too, once one property paid for it, then it was
Everybody
good for
did.
just like here in Vegas, you get it for 5 years.
Yeah.
know what I
I
mean?
was shocked mine was still valid when I came back. I
Oh,
was like,
really?
oh, I'm still good.
And it's only $5 to transfer, and the casino almost
Yes.
always pays for that.
Maybe not
Oh,
anymore.
really?
Yeah. It's called a change of location. So you can work at multiple properties, but you always have one primary property with your gaming license. But if you leave that one and go to another, you have to pay $5 to do change of location.
Yeah. Yeah, they used to have to actually carry it. It used to be called a sheriff's card here in town. You had to carry it with you and have it with
they
you.
still have those. They
Oh,
still
really?
have
I
sheriff's
still have
cards,
some of my
yeah.
original ones as
Yeah.
like souvenirs. Okay. So what's the deal? Interestingly, one of the things I express a lot, we have a lot of older people that watch, and they're always looking, their bucket list, come to Vegas, work at a casino.
Okay.
And I usually tell them very little ageism
Yeah.
in casinos. They
Absolutely.
love older employees.
Absolutely.
They're usually friendlier,
More reliable.
outspoken.
Not going to take that 3-day weekend and just call out, you
Right?
know? Absolutely.
What is that fear, by the way? You being in HR, I mean, I don't think I've ever even had this conversation, but assuming that, like me at 21, getting into gaming for the first time, luckily I showed up at work the next day, but
Yeah.
I can tell you I enjoyed everything Vegas had to offer for a while, and I know that a lot of friends of mine that broke in at the same time or started,
Yeah.
didn't show up to work or
Yes.
had lots of issues,
A lot of it. They rode the lightning, as we call it, with their attendance points.
Yeah, because that's a Vegas thing, right? You
Yeah.
come here, you're from somewhere else, you get all the
Sucked into
lights,
it.
you get sucked to gambling, everything. You get a job as a dealer, let's say.
Yeah, you start to make friends in the industry, and then all of a sudden you're
Yeah.
getting into clubs. You're getting discounted at bars, or it's
Discounted everything.
literally.
So does HR worry about that when they look at younger people? Is that a consideration or no? There's really no age.
No, I don't think so. It's actually funny. A couple years ago, so my mom also has a podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but
Had this conversation.
Hi,
Mom.
she might be watching.
My
We
mom
sent it to
too.
her.
Hey.
Oh, hi. So I went on her podcast and talked about it because gaming at the property that I was at the time was in Ohio, and we had a very small base. Did excellent revenue, but we had a small team member base, but gaming is probably the only place where you're working with people in literally every single generation, every single existing generation.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, there's a Caesar's Palace Day 1 employee who's
Oh,
still
yes.
working there.
There's a lot of them. It's amazing.
It's insane. So what is that, 1963?
I mean,
Somewhere
it's a
around
long
there.
time ago. You used to go there and get a cocktail, and now, you know what I mean? You got the cocktails within a couple of minutes. Now you got to wait a little bit, okay?
Yeah, now it's all measured and tracked and fine-tuned. Absolutely.
Yeah, that cocktail waitress that's been there since day one, dude.
Oh,
she's
man. Oh.
she's not waking her way over too quickly. That used to be like a running joke, by the way.
Unless you're a regular.
You had to bring your own drinks when you bellied up to a crab table at Caesar's, dude, because that poor lady wasn't getting to you.
Oh,
Once
my
every like couple
gosh.
hours, she would roll out and try to. All right. So the The other thing interesting now is, and I'm going to address this only because I think for some people it's a bit intimidating, but
Sure.
The casino environment is a very diverse environment.
Yeah.
There's a lot of diversity, and I mean that in every sense of the word. I add that because when I was a dealer, there wasn't so much.
Sure.
Casinos were very selective in some ways. When we talk about before the companies got involved, the MGMs, the Caesars, and Circus, and before they started taking over, you had to have some guy, who had his own opinion on life and take that out on the entire floor. And it made working in some of these properties very difficult for some people.
Yeah.
But Vegas has grown up in an extraordinary way.
Yeah.
It's a very different atmosphere now. It's a very open atmosphere. It's a very diverse atmosphere. It's a very accepting atmosphere. You know what I mean? You're still going to run into some of these OG people who probably should be retiring.
There's still some out there.
There's
and
some
we know
cogs
where
in
they
the
are.
wheel. You know what I mean? Making a little noise. But for the most part, you have people like Jen who make this process, really, really easy. And I have to say it's an extraordinary thing. You'll find human resources are like Jen now. I mean, they've moved on to this. I worked at the IP a few times, and it was run by a guy who was well known for being just a cog. Let's just say that. That poor bastard made a lot of people's lives. Not a poor bastard, a rich bastard, by the way.
Yeah.
But there used to be this girl who was in human resources, an older woman, and she was a very, let's just say, not diversity-friendly person. So what she would do is they would record. She had this tape recorder. She put it on the desk to record your conversation.
Oh, wow.
Then she would take it to a supervisor to make sure that, you had the right speech.
Wow.
I mean, it is this kind of really weird thing that they did.
That's strange,
to qualify people to work there. But anyways, it's great to see that things have come a long way. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
So I know the personality thing was big.
Yep.
And one of the things that scares a lot of people, we actually, so the dealer school, every couple of weeks we get everybody around, we talk about that whole group interview thing.
Yeah, the panel interview.
And it scares a living bejesus out of a lot of people.
Does it?
Well, yeah,
Oh,
because
yeah.
you got to speak up and you got to do a little public speaking. A lot of
Yeah.
people get nervous.
Sometimes they make you do weird. Can I swear on here? Am I allowed
Yeah,
to?
you can swear as long as we're 30 seconds in, right, Dennis? You could say.
Is that
Past
the
the 30
rule?
seconds.
Whoa, we're past
good.
30
We're good.
seconds. Good.
But sometimes they make you do some weird shit. Like
Yeah.
I've had people made them sing like opera singers.
Oh, really? And they get a little nervous.
There are folks who do get nervous. And it's tough though because I've worked line level. I've had a 6'7" guy standing over me telling me how even though he spent 2 hours in the spa, he wants his money back for his day spa pass because it didn't meet his expectation.
Oh,
you know
really?
what I
I'll
mean?
rub you down. Don't worry about it. I'll meet your expectation. All right, what else? You were saying?
So, yes.
Go ahead.
So we have to know that you can be in those kinds of situations or
Yeah.
be around a very diverse group of people, not only your team members, but the guests that we get here. I mean, literally from all walks of life, from all over the world. And how are you going to deal with that being put in a situation you've never been put in before?
Yeah.
So you kind of just have to go for it. I think mistakes that people make in those panel interviews. Do we want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell me.
I would this is gonna sound bad.
Uh-oh.
This is gonna sound bad. It can make some folks uncomfortable when you talk about I'm going to tell you everything about my family life, or I'm going to tell you everything about my spiritual life. You know what I mean? Keep it light. You know what I'm saying?
Keep it whimsical. No politics, no sexual
politics.
adventures.
Dress for the occasion. I've had people show up in T-shirts and
Yes.
I mean, I had a gentleman come in and it was for a dishwasher position. He was wearing a suit jacket that was obviously 3 times too big for him, and he was like, this was all that I have. I borrowed it and I'm so sorry. And for me, that was going above and beyond.
Yep.
I was like, thank you for
He made the effort.
taking the time, making the effort, doing what you actually
Yeah.
could do, versus some folks who kind of showed up in like I was gonna use a real
Flip-flops
example, and I'm like, I can't say the real example.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like just like a dirty T-shirt and flip-flops and that kind of thing.
So you're saying no assless chaps?
No assless chaps, David. I know.
I have some. I have some here.
You
heard?
I heard.
I'm just saying, not the right thing to wear for a job interview.
Not the right thing, but yeah, keep it light, keep it friendly. Think about your interactions when you go to the casinos. What are the team members like when you're there? It's if you have worked and I'm trying to figure out a good way to say this.
If you have worked.
Listen, if you were a sex worker or you're a stripper, you
yes.
don't necessarily need to talk about that in your panel interview in front
I
of
know
30
that's
people.
happened.
It's absolutely happened.
By the way, I 100% know a story that you probably know because the same person. Well, anyways.
Was it in the orientation class? Because that's happened before too.
So I had someone. Oh God, we'll just hint at it, and then maybe it'll be one of David's stories that I'll do. But there was a girl who came from. She worked a pole.
Sure.
I don't know how else to say that. Is there a better way to say that?
She was an exotic
She was an
dancer.
exotic dancer.
Yes.
Thank you. She worked a metal pole. Everybody, my God. And sorry, Jen. I'm old. I confuse
You have an
words.
HR manager sitting right next to you.
But I know I have an HR manager. Thank God I'm not getting hired anytime soon. But so this wonderful woman, by the way, who's actually gone on to be a very serious dealer. She's taken it very serious. She's come back to the school. This is literally. She had this really frank discussion with Alex, and she just didn't want to be an exotic dancer anymore.
I respect that and I love that. I more worry about what their experience might be and I've hired these folks, okay?
Yeah. No,
I'm not
100%.
It's not that we're discriminating against sex workers or girls, strippers or anything like that. They probably have better
customer service skills.
Than other
They're all
people.
about customer service. What are you talking about, dude? That's great. That's a front line of play.
But I worry about it because then it becomes will that then define them later on? Will that then be rumors that we have to deal with later because other people aren't able to be respectful,
Well, so she was asking us because, ready for that group panel.
Yeah.
And she really just wanted to be very frank about her background, like almost too frank, because she had been really frank. And nothing against Frank, but just very honest with Alex. And I was like, listen here, there's no need to bring up any of that.
Correct.
All you can say is, listen, I'm very friendly, I'm outgoing, I like it. And she really has a wonderful personality.
Yeah.
Why did you do it?
I can't really tell you what but it was really a wonderful conversation. I was very surprised. She was by the way, this person was very empowered with themselves. They were very much in control of their whole. They weren't shy.
Powerful.
They weren't shy about it. They're like, listen,
do it.
This is what I've done, and how much do I need to share? And I'm like, you don't have to share anything, really. You know what I'm saying? But I, we have this sort of sheet of some of the crazy questions that some of the HRs have asked as part of this. I know the Rio did this one where you had to dance. You had to literally get up and dance because they want to see that you're capable and you can have fun. If you're working the front line in a casino, you're money. The only way for that person, you are literally the reason why people come back to visit the casino. You're the reason why people spend money.
That's literally what they teach in the new hire orientations.
I mean, there's no other way to say it because they have so many other choices. Even the people that stay at a casino, if they're passing by a blackjack table and you're not someone who's going to engage, they're going to go to the next blackjack table until people are it's just human nature.
The service profit chain.
It's the service profit chain.
Service profit chain.
So that's all they're asking. And there's no right answers. So everyone's like, well, what's the right answer? Well, the right answer is that you're friendly, you're outgoing, you can demonstrate that you have some kind of communication skills.
It's really not necessarily about what you say. It's about how you present yourself.
Yeah, 100%. So, it's a low bar. It's not as high a bar. With me, they got to be like, sir, can you shut the hell up and sit down, please? There's other people here.
Right.
That's almost happened to me once.
It's hard to, I know security officers struggle with that because they go in there thinking like, I need to be, like the
rough
Mr. Tough guy. And like, that's not necessarily the case. You still got to be able to smile because 90% of the time you're on post.
No, I agree with. See, I would much rather a security guy with personality because that lowers the the edge a little bit. If I see a guy looking all dangerous all the time, you know what I mean? It's kind of a little scary.
Totally
you know what I mean?
agree.
I want them to maybe say hello. All right. So here's an interesting thing. A lot of people apply. So I guess leading back to one of the questions someone had earlier, I get this asked a lot. Always in the application process. First of all, everybody has a portal now that you have to apply to. Should I submit a resume or just fill out the application? Do I do both? Do I include a cover letter?
For me, I always just look at the resume.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't even look at because it's the same thing. You know what I mean? And in fact, I think, if I was gonna say for where I'm at now, I think we just have you submit a resume and
really, and there's no application.
Yeah.
Because let's say I'll pull up like Boy Casino. They have a very detailed, and if you miss even a month, it gets kicked back and says that you haven't demonstrated where you were, what you were doing. Okay, so the resume is big.
For me, that's how I've always done it. And I can tell you right now, even with the opening we did, we weren't printing the applications. We were probably just printing the resumes.
Oh, my God. Yeah. You've heard it here. Now, what about the cover letter? Because that was a great question. I've heard that a lot as well.
So cover letter, I think at a certain level, and if you really want it, I would do a cover letter. When I get cover letters, I do peruse them, for the positions I personally am hiring for.
Wow.
Now, as a table games dealer, I don't know that a cover letter is going to help you any because they're getting so many applicants.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't have the time to read it, and they're just going to go straight to your resume and say, what games did you deal? Where did you deal them? How long were you there?
And that's often, interestingly, so that's the next part of it is there's this AI now that a lot of HR departments use to kind of filter out a lot of
I
stuff.
call them knockout questions.
Yeah. And so we get I would say half of our dealer submissions get kicked back.
Interesting.
And a lot of them, especially with two of the casino networks that we work with, they get kicked back a lot, almost all the time. The only way, in fact, that they get through is when I refer them directly.
Yeah.
And then we can sort of bypass that, and they're like, "Oh, wait, that's in the system," and then they can pick it and they can follow
find
up.
you and grab you. Yeah.
And by the way, David's Juice isn't. We get you past this AI. You still have to pass the games. We by the way, we stand by that extraordinarily. First of all, I don't move you up the chain unless you earn it.
Right.
And you can actually because I need to work with Jen. Jen needs to respect that we are sending the right employee. If I send her a lump. You know what I mean? And maybe she can. I've had a hiring manager one time overlooked a small issue with an employee, and we both sort of agreed it was a small issue. But I typically don't do that. Because I want every employee to have earned their place.
Absolutely.
It used to be juice was everything in this town.
That's true. That's very true.
Who you knew and how you got a job. If you wanted to get the best jobs. There was another school selling jobs to a high-level casino. Yep, $10,000. I've actually been offered $10,000. I've even been offered $25,000 in other extraordinary circumstances. It's not a thing. I feel like that's just a misspent... I had to work for all my jobs. I had to pass auditions. I mean, legitimately. I didn't know anybody. No one knew me. No one wanted to know me. I mean, you know what I mean? It was tough. Okay. So if my resume is rejected, what do I do?
It's so tough. I personally discourage knockout questions in most scenarios, particularly at the dealer level, unless it's for a specific, we need a team of craps dealers. Okay, cool. Have you dealt craps before?
Any craps dealers, at least we'll look at it.
Yes, exactly. If you've dealt craps, period, to me that says maybe that company, maybe their restrictions are too tight. I do it for mostly salaried level positions, and even there I err on the side of caution because for me I'd much rather take a chance on someone who I can maybe mold, and be able to get them to where I need them to be, especially in this tight labor market. So that shocks me that a lot of your folks kind of get knocked out.
It's amazing.
That's wild to me.
I've had so many conversations too. And you know, it's frustrating for the casino managers that are trying to hire.
Yeah.
They're not getting these applications because they're just being rejected.
And I wonder what the reasons are for, because obviously there are going to be some non-starter knockout questions. Have you committed a felony? Have you ever been convicted of a felony?
Right.
You know, are you legally able to work in this state without sponsorship? You know, those types of things are going to be the general ones. But if they're experience-based, I think the best thing you can do is, in that case, maybe put a cover letter in. But again, I would seek out who that hiring manager is. And if we're talking like dealer positions, right, you got to get to know other dealers. You've got to start making your network of connections, because that's still, the juice still plays a pretty big role.
Yes, referrals are great here in town. Some casinos love for you to be referred by someone in-house.
Yes, and there's I know in this market, there's probably an incentive for team members to refer their friends.
That's it. Money incentive, real incentive.
Exactly. I mean, it's like if you stay 90 days, they're probably getting $100. You're probably getting $100. Like, it's,
can I get $100? What's going on? Can I get $100?
We'll have to get a referral program for
I know. We got to get a
CEG.
few referral for all 100 damn casinos. All right. So so one of the reasons why I know they get rejected is because they don't fill in every single month of their work experience. Some people have like time off, especially with the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we're running into one casino network fixed that, by the way.
Yeah.
Because the pandemic, obviously, they were like, well, what do I say I did in the pandemic? I did nothing. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like I was sitting home, but because there's that hole in their resume,
okay.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they weren't
that's
filling in for the
crazy.
time, and then they realized that was an issue.
That was what was getting
You know
them
what I
knocked
mean?
out. You know, honestly, to me, that sounds more like an HR problem than it does.
Oh,
sound
really?
Like,
I think it was an HR. I did talk to an HR person to
That's
fix that.
crazy. Yeah, because again, like we did the hiring during the pandemic. You know what I mean? And even in post-pandemic, I think nationally we're like a 3.5% maybe unemployment rate, if not lower.
Yeah.
So to think that companies are putting more barriers in front of potential team members, that's crazy. I'm like, I'll hire you.
I know.
I'm like, I'm hiring.
So what if you do have time that's unaccounted for? Like, you know, I at one point I was actually rejected for a job. I went down to Arizona for a little while to deal with a family issue.
Sure.
And I wasn't working.
Yeah.
And I actually said that on a resume, and it came back, and I was, you know, auto rejected for it.
Wow.
Right. Or I was rejected outright. I'm not sure, one of those things, but you know, there was time missing.
Sure.
In my resume. So what if you do have? Can you just put down? Listen, I was taking care of family. I mean, do you fill that in?
It's tough to say. I can tell you the type of hiring manager I am. I'm going to look at your resume, and if I think you have good experience, I'm probably going to call you. And if there's a gap, I'm going to ask you about it.
Okay.
There's probably people out there who, if they see a gap, they move on. But that seems very outdated to me. I especially after COVID. I mean, after 2008, you saw people jumping around. You know, there were no more 10-year long stints at places. People were jumping, you know, after 2 years, and millennials really started that, like, we're okay with going to another job. It's not a problem. And so after pandemic, it was a similar change where it's like, yeah, everyone has gaps in their employment. I have gaps in my employment.
A lot of gaps. I used to have gaps in my teeth. Now I just have them in my employment.
Just in your employment. But yeah, you could say that. I think, you know, for the ladies out there, unfortunately, I would stay away from saying, like, I took time off to have a child and raise a child. I would caution you against saying that, just because there are still shitty employers out there, you know, and they might say, oh, I don't know, where's this person's priority? Unfortunately, as a woman, it's just something we have to consider.
That you have to overcome.
Yeah, it sucks. I think being able to say, like, I took care of family is always going to be looked at with sympathy. I've heard a lot of people say that, especially since COVID. There's been a lot of, like, hey, this company went out of business. This company shut down, or I was laid off. I mean, those are pretty, you know, acceptable things you could put, especially for being declined outright for a gap.
So what are the big so personality is big now in
Huge.
gaming.
Yeah.
It's like I hear from everybody 50% personality and then we'll fill in the rest.
Exactly.
You know, a lot of times even dealers will train you. We'll send you to a school,
Yeah.
we'll send you to CNG.
Yeah.
Hire the personality, train the dealer. We always say, "Hey, if you're a casino looking for dealers, guess what we do? We train dealers, just so you know." What do you think? So what is the big no's? The things that you discount. So I know lying. I tell people, listen,
Yeah.
even if it's bad, don't lie about it, because if they
Absolutely.
catch you in a lie, it's done.
Absolutely. And I think I'm trying to think of a story that I can share. So I have a friend who, made a mistake and needed kind of a second chance, and got in front of a hiring manager for that second chance and was 100% upfront and just said, this was pretty much the nature of the situation, and this is what all went down, and that is always 100% always better than hiding something.
Yep.
Because it will eventually get found out. It might take months, it might take weeks, it might take years, but it always comes back around, because at some point you're going to say something to somebody, or they're going to see something on your old Instagram, or God knows what, and it's going to end up getting, put out there.
Don't say graduated if you didn't graduate.
Correct.
Don't use references to schools that you think no one's
Yes.
going to follow up on.
Don't exaggerate your skills either, so this, I have a funny story I can share.
Yeah, go.
I recently hired for an HR position, and I got this resume in front of me that, was like, I've been at this major gaming company for 2 years, in HR, and kind of listed everything out. So I get her on an interview and speak with her, and turns out she had only been in that position for a couple of months and was actually a cocktail server. And I was like, look, you know what? I actually appreciate the hustle, because that kind of goes back to doing what you have to do to get in front of a hiring manager.
Yeah.
So I said, get me on LinkedIn. If there's anywhere you're looking for a job, I will help you if I know that person, like getting in at this level that's appropriate for your skill set.
Yeah.
But also, don't be so misleading on your resume, like that you worked at this, casino and only put the one job and not the one you've actually been doing for 90% of the time while you're there. But I appreciated the hustle a lot. But where people get tripped up is saying like, oh, what's your experience in Excel? I'm advanced. And if you have a good interviewer, they're going to say things like, okay, do you know how to write a VLOOKUP? Do you know how to concatenate? Very simple things that probably a lot of people haven't heard of. So you'll always get found out.
You will. We have people that come to us now, and we have this famous we have a guy who used to work with us. We still love him, by the way, who came into my office and he's like, I'm a SEO. I'm a search engine optimizer.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so, we started talking about meta tags and, gateways and things like this and landing pages. And he had no idea what the hell I was talking about. And I'm like, well, where did you learn how to be a SEO? Well, I've been watching YouTube lately. And, I've been working on my skills. I got this website. Because there's a lot of people out there with, like, a soft set of skills. Like, they've accumulated some knowledge. And now they want to go out and they think they can somehow, hustle. And
You're
they're
not
professional.
a social media expert just because you have 500 followers on Instagram.
That's
true.
But there's
count?
I know.
I would say so.
Yeah, and they're like, but I'm a great learner. But a lot of times that's not enough. You really got to be, and that's why there's levels, and that's why you come in. We've had in gaming, it's rampant. So we had someone who came to our school, graduated from our school, got one job, lied on a resume to get another job. They hired this person, and then they realized that, because guess what? If you say you know a game, you now have to know the game.
Get thrown on it. Yeah.
It's not like you can just, because they thought they were just going to be a supervisor, and so they could just know enough of it to sort of make it work. And amazingly, this property didn't really do its due diligence.
A table
they
supervisor.
were so table game supervisor.
That's
They were so
wild.
desperate. It was amazing.
That's
The interesting
crazy.
thing about the pandemic is a lot of people have moved on. People with experience. It used to be when you worked downtown and you took a suit too early, a lot of strip places wouldn't hire you.
Yeah.
But now that there's been so much need,
They're
that
desperate.
some of these people have been moved on, and now there's all these openings at these like downtown properties, lower end and they're just desperate. And if you say you have the skill set, it's a win for HR. They got a body standing there, and then maybe they can get by.
And maybe they're kind of charming.
Yeah, this person's very charming, outgoing personality, can wing it a little bit, but now you got a tough bet you got to figure out. And you know, you were talking about, you know, you're a frontline employee in the gaming business, and you have people who are drunk, who don't know the game.
Yeah.
People get hostile about money. The people do not like to lose.
Correct.
Especially if they're also drunk.
And if you have veteran dealers, they're watching you too.
That's it. And you know, people see me deal and they wonder. I lock it down on the game. I've been dealing a very long time. I don't care how much money or how much fame you have. Those things don't interest me. And it took me a long time to evolve that skill set. It's not like when I first broke in, everything intimidated me. It was a nerve-wracking experience. I had to evolve. We've had someone at the school who was an instructor of ours that claimed to have 20 years experience and only had 4.
Oh my gosh.
And you know, it was so weird because we would watch things and it was a whole different mindset. But anyway, so I tell everybody, just don't lie, even if it's bad.
And especially in a town like Vegas, because everybody knows everybody.
It's gonna catch up to you.
I mean, depending on where you're at. I mean, between you, me, and Alex, we could probably make a phone call to any executive.
You worked for a friend of mine 14 years ago, or like 13, 14 years ago. Like, we just realized that a good friend of mine that used to be an HR director was a fantastic human being. Can I say hi, Don? I don't know if Don's ever watching, but he was a fantastic person. But okay. Yeah, because this town was really small back when. Yeah. Even 14 years ago, it seems like it's really evolved quite a bit.
But everybody still knows everybody.
But if you've worked, like I've worked 13 years. So back when I was a dealer, you used to jump properties. That's a good question. That's one of the things we had to bring up the other day was, you know, because there's so much demand for dealers, the break-in jobs are only retaining dealers for a couple months before these dealers are being offered jobs at someplace better. And the pay rate is so extraordinary.
And the toke rate as well.
And you know what I'm saying? The toke rate is so much better that you got to go. Especially if you have a family. If it's another $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a year, you really don't have a choice.
Absolutely.
So you know, but some people are afraid that this will come back to bite them, no?
Jumping?
Yeah, jumping.
For dealers, I think you kind of expect it. I think, again, post-2008, post-recession, you started to see it a lot. My resume looks like that. Oh. I mean, I've listed all the places I've worked. I moved like 6 times in the last 8 years.
I've had 13 casino jobs.
So I think it's somewhat expected. And again, I think in gaming specifically, we do rely on our personal networks. Like, I have no problem still calling up people and being like, do you know this person? Yeah. Did they actually work for you? Because your time overlaps and like you can usually get to the bottom of stuff pretty quick. But
isn't that funny? It's amazing how personal this is. That's why okay, ready? Here's a great question. If you get fired from a casino, you're on the casino floor, someone fires you for something outrageous. Yeah. And then another casino calls the casino. Yeah. What can they ask?
So legally, the only information you're allowed to provide is, you know, did they work there? What were the dates of their employment? And depending, if it's an employer, that's really all that you can tell them.
And what about being a rehire or not a rehire?
No, I don't even give them that information.
Really? Because I get asked that. And I'm always
rehirable.
If the person is it can be hired. I actually had the DOD actually did a background check on someone recently.
And that's different when it comes from the government. Okay. When it comes from the government,
because they asked a lot more questions.
Yeah. If it comes from a state agency or federal agency, they can kind of ask you whatever they want.
Waist size, jockstrap, you know what I mean? Like, they're asking a lot of personal stuff.
Yeah, they can get your pay rates. They can get all that good stuff. Yeah, especially if it's like, you know, Department of Health and Welfare or, you know, things of that nature for wage garnishments, stuff like that.
All right, I'm almost done. You ready?
I'm ready.
So what do you think? I know that there's this whole push to work from home. Yeah. And, you know, casino environment is very live, in-person sort of thing. But there are jobs, I guess, that you could work from home. Mm-hmm. You know, there's always been a lot of worry also. This is going to be sort of a multifaceted thing. Just take it. And so there's a lot of dealers are worried that their jobs are going to be replaced by electronic or digital dealers. We're all going to be sitting home with one of those meta things or Facebook, virtual reality headset, playing games. No need to go to the casino. But So what do you think of how a casino environments will work, and then this career as it were.
In terms of like, what's the future? I mean,
what's the future of casinos? What's the future of dealers specifically? Do you think that right now there's a propagation? So dealers, casinos are exploding everywhere. The gaming Wynn, they just came out. One of the biggest industries in the entire United States is quite literally casino gaming. It's exploding all over the place.
Especially
you guys are losing your asses out there. There's a lot of casinos.
The hold is in the casino's favor.
Yes. and I've always been very optimistic about the opportunities that casino have. I really think that the HR process is it's pretty linear, it's pretty well defined. That the opportunities will continue to grow.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think as far as like the future in like work from home and stuff, right? I think specific to gaming and even hospitality, it's really not being embraced as much. If you're on the corporate side, if you have a corporate mothership, there's probably a decent amount of work from home being allowed. I'm pretty sure like MGM, most of them are still working from home. I know Caesars had a lot of their folks working from home, which is I can't believe it's anything but difficult. Could you imagine being in employee and labor relations and having to conduct an investigation from home? How are you going to do that?
Dial it in.
You have to be on the floor. You have to be walking where they walked. You got to go to surveillance. There's a lot of things you really got to do. Obviously all the front of house positions, that's not really an option for work from home. Even in finance and accounting, we actually want them there. You lose so much from not being on property and not being able to have those conversations. The larger organizations, if they've been able to make it happen and good for them, I would question their retention rate. I would question their turnover rate. But most casinos, even at corporate, still want you back in the building and back to work. The future, you brought up the great question of, are dealers going to be replaced one day? You look at cruise ships that have the dealerless blackjack tables. I forget the company that does it, but that it exists. It absolutely exists. We looked at it for the casino I opened. They ended up not going with it, but the difficulty is going to be continuing to prove a return on investment for a person versus a computer. And when you think about the raises in minimum wage, and whether or not your state offers a tip credit, which I don't think we do here in the state of Nevada.
No.
So a tip credit allows employers to pay you less than minimum wage, essentially guaranteeing that your tips are going to bring you to minimum wage, and if they do not, the company will bring you up to minimum wage.
Not here.
That
go
does
to
not
California.
exist. Yeah.
Gotta go to California for that.
A lot of the East Coast places do it
Really?
too. Oh yeah, Maryland, that
Brutal.
was huge.
I've read about it, man. It scares the crap out of me. You kidding me?
I think can certainly be taken advantage of. I don't think it's cool to pay cocktail servers $3 an hour. You know what I'm saying? It should be a fair wage for sure. But when you look at, is there a return on investment if our minimum wage is $15 an hour for a poker dealer? That gets harder to prove, in the poker room. Poker rooms are not known for generating revenue. It is a little bit more looked at as an amenity from the bean counters. You know what I mean? That's what the finance team is going to tell you.
It's amazing how much of gaming you know. That's why I got into this question. I actually worked as a consultant when one of a big property out here was looking into the ETG market and replacing some tables with a big stadium. And I know
the stadium gaming doesn't do that well.
Stadium gaming, it doesn't do that well because it's seen as a slot machine. The buy-in is less. The retention of the customer retention is lower.
There's not as much excitement
and so these games they do okay like other slot machines, but they don't have the same level of buy-in, the same so it's interesting. Originally, a lot of casinos made the investment anyways because they wanted to test it in a live environment, but it didn't work out well in Vegas, thankfully.
Those virtual dealers at the Rio used to just creep me out,
man.
Really? Like it's I don't know, you see with the screen and it's like a scantily clad girl and she's just kind of looking from left to right, but it's just a video screen.
Can't be a well-dressed girl, you know what I mean?
Of course
there's
not.
only one way to go with it.
She's in like a bikini with a beach behind her,
Perfect. but because I know that you've had conversations, and interestingly, this company at the highest level had HR involved because it's a frontline reality. It's a frontline position, obviously. Dealers that have, and so having that discussions on what how do we maximize this space.
Right.
Do we put a video game here?
Right.
Do we put a table game here? What does it cost for our dealer? I've always thought that ultimately, as many casinos have these conversations, it'll go by the by. You need a dealer. It's its own experience having a dealer there, right? And that's what people are paying for, and that's what most people want. I mean, yes, some of us that local places. So here, I'm going to scroll this back a little bit. So there was a tribal casino that did really well, got a stadium, ETG, electronic table game environment. It was a multi-game environment. It did very well because people in a local community, they roll out of bed in their bunny slippers and they go to the casino and play an ETG. They don't care about the dealer.
Right.
You come to Vegas, you got on a plane, you brought your wife, your girlfriend, your second girlfriend, your second, you know what I mean?
Your second girlfriend.
Yeah, you know what I mean? We don't all bring the same girlfriend, dude. You know what I'm saying? Could be the next week by now. You know what I mean?
Could be your boyfriend.
Could be your boyfriend, yes. So, and you want the whole experience.
Yeah.
ETG seems selling it short.
I think there was the thought around how do we bring millennials in, and what is there more of a gamification around this experience? And I love the videos that you guys do with it was the claw machine one and showing how it's not
rigged.
at all in your favor,
Rigged.
And I gotta remember the skill based, they try to do first person shooter games that were skill based, but they're not really skill based, and it's. I just don't see that taking traction because there's still something to bellying up to a craps table, throwing the dice with 12 of your best friends.
There really is, and I don't think
I heard
this
Dennis
is...
likes Keno as well.
Yeah. Oh, see, the rumor's out, buddy. Everybody knows the truth now, and you can just live it and enjoy it.
He likes the dino egg Keno specifically.
Oh,
No,
caveman
that would
Keno,
put you to
buddy.
sleep.
Caveman Keno?
Come on,
That
Jen.
would
Come
put
on,
you to
Jen.
I
sleep.
don't play
Move along
Keno.
with the technology, all right? Get up to speed.
I don't play Keno at PTs.
Oh,
I think that's the
really?
only
They
one
have
they
Keno? Oh, my God.
I
Yeah.
can play Keno with David. I can't play Keno by
We're,
myself.
by the way, late night next Sunday, apparently, I've been recruited to do Keno after dark.
Oh, ooh.
We're gonna teach
Will
everybody
you be
how to
wearing
become-
the chaps.
Oh, gosh. Secretly, underneath everything else. They're assless chaps, too. I'm going to have to lose a little weight for those. Strangely enough. Okay, here's the thing. Have we gotten to 100 likes? Does anybody like us?
We have 103 likes.
Oh, yay. All right, well, let's give away a hat. Can we just do HR? That's all I got to do. Pound away HR. We're going to give away the white Casino Quest hat. Jen can tell him when to stop and pick the number and do all that.
Okay.
What do you think?
We'll give him a second.
Tell Alan Toy to whip out all his extra accounts, dude.
Okay.
Everybody's. I think everybody's just been listening.
Extra super chats right now because
Oh.
we got a couple.
Oh, we've had a
yeah.
couple. Okay, go.
So Derek Silva, what is the starting rate? What is the going rate for getting into human resources in the casino industry with an MBA?
Ooh, that is a great question. So it depends on what position you're looking for. And it depends on how much casino experience you have. Casino, I feel that gaming is different than any other industry in that for most positions, and it is changing a little bit now, they don't always care if you have a degree. I've known vice presidents, I've known regional vice presidents, EVPs, did not have a degree. I have worked for a gaming company that was the largest regional operator, and they did very much value having a degree. So it was actually mandatory if you made it to director, you had to have at least a bachelor's. But that means, the bar is a little bit lower, and it's not always guaranteed that they're going to pay you more for your master's degree. It's why I've never gone back and gotten my master's degree, because there's not enough of a financial incentive for me, because I think most companies in gaming would just tell you, that's nice.
That's nice.
You can put some letters behind your name and keep it moving.
Dealers in suits.
But if you get into the corporate side of it with a gaming company that does value it, I think Penn National, I think Boyd Gaming, I think they do put a premium on, having that higher degree. And if you can find a corporate position, because they won't care on property, but they'll care at corporate.
So what kind of, by the way, that was one of the last, hey, we'll do that later. We're going to talk about how you can become Jen.
Oh, gosh.
How you too can become a Jen.
Well, they're still typing HR in the chat.
Oh, really?
So
Should we stop them? All right, go ahead. Tell them when to stop, and then
okay.
Just anytime.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Stop.
Pick a number between 1 and 11.
11.
Kevin Couch, you're the winner.
Kevin
Right,
Couch?
Kevin Couch.
Fantastic. Kevin Couch. Christina, look at us. Yay. Cakes and pies, cakes and pies. I know, right? Thank you so much for showing up. We'll call you sometime, whenever.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
By the way, when they tell you to call you, so we have dealers just off the, are you taking care of the hat?
Yeah, I already.
We have dealers that come from the casino. The one thing I hate the most is when they don't tell them if they're hired. They used to tell them, listen, you're hired. Some casinos, they won't tell you on the spot. They'll be like, we'll call you. But other casinos are like, we like you. We're going to move over to this table. We'll get all your information. Yeah. You follow?
Absolutely.
There are still some properties, the bigger properties. Some of the big properties, one I know of specifically, has the longest process. It's 2 months. By the minute they tell you, listen, they don't tell you if they like you. They say, we're going to call you. And then you wait and wait and wait. And 3 weeks later, you finally get the call. But now you've just, pardon?
For dealers.
For dealers.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a top property.
Yeah,
a lot of people, they have a line.
I was going to say.
Everyone else does not have a line. You follow?
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And they don't, and they make no apologies. I will call them because I do have a back line, and I will say, hey, did this person pass?
Right.
And they'll be like, well, we'll let you know. Even me, I'm like, well,
wow.
I mean, I just want to let them
go
know.
That far.
No, they're like, listen, buddy, we'll call you too, okay? But what do you think? What's your preference? Call, no call, tell them they have the job, don't have the job?
To me, tell them on the spot. Tell them on the spot because unless you're in that luxurious position to have people lining up out the door, especially as a dealer, that means your toke rate's got to be banging.
It's banging.
Yeah, you've probably got no problem. You're probably the newest, shiny thing out there. So I can see that, but there will come a day where that's not going to be the case. And at that point, when you get to that point, you're competing with Amazon. You're competing with these other employers who can say, I'll hire you right now, you can start tomorrow, because I don't have a licensing process that you have to go to. You don't have to come to me with work cards. There are already enough barriers in the way of bringing people on. I have pretty much always been we're gonna hire you right now.
Yeah, that was fantastic, by the way. When you guys came in, I know one girl who was crying, but also thankful that she knew she got turned down.
Yeah.
But not everybody got through, but she was thankful that she could move on. You know what I mean? She only had to spend the one day crying.
And
the next day she could be looking for it. But I think that's better, no?
It is. And I will say, I don't know what it is. It's at all levels right now for all positions. I have friends who are searching for those VP levels. They've gone through weeks of interviewing up to the CEO, and then they never hear back, or the people just get ghosted. So it's not just, on that hourly position side. I think it's everywhere. I couldn't tell you why, other than, people can get disorganized. HR can easily
There's
get
a lot of
disorganized,
ghosting, man. I've had an HR recently. I had to talk to a casino manager who I'm actually good friends with, and been like, dude, you keep telling me you need all these dealers. I sent you all these dealers, but no one's getting a call back.
Yeah.
Even though they passed their audition, they basically was told they were hired, sent over to HR, and then, like you said, they're just ghosted.
They go into this gray space where no one's really sure where they exist.
Because now you're gonna lose those. There are other jobs.
They'll move on.
The minute that it takes too long, I'm like, listen, I'm gonna refer them somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I have no choice.
Absolutely.
I mean, they need to eat. I love you, but they need to eat too.
100%.
So I would say, if you are ghosted, you follow up. A lot of times, like you said, there's no number, there's no way to communicate. HRs are kind of cut off.
I think if you start to get the feeling you're ghosted, just move on. I mean, still try to reach back out to those folks, and do what you can, but I wouldn't hesitate. You have to do what's right for you.
if you're one of our students, by the way, and I have referred you, and we have this quite a bit where students, if you don't hear back, I don't mind you coming and saying, David, I have not heard back, because I can help with that. And so don't feel like don't be embarrassed or intimidated. Don't feel like it's outside. I want to know. I mean, I referred you to that job. I'm expecting you to. And if you were hired and you were told that you were going to be hired, I expect you to get a call back. And for whatever reason you don't, I don't mind holding that person to the fire and say, listen, you told them you had a job, or at least writing that email for you and getting some kind of response. And most of the times it's a very positive response. It's like, sorry, this happened.
Exactly.
We had
sorry, half the team got COVID.
Yeah, that's actually happened.
That's
sadly.
happened.
No, that's really happened. We had to send everybody. So there was one incident where they sent the entire HR home.
That happened to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
and
I sent
there's
my whole building home.
A whole building, yeah. And they were like, well, what are you gonna do?
We were literally. This was when it was like early COVID. No one really knew what to. There was no guidance from anywhere, and we had someone pop positive, and so we didn't have laptops. We didn't have enough laptops to supply everyone.
Really?
My payroll team was like taking out their double monitors into boxes so they could take them home and work from home, because we had to still run payroll, so yeah.
No, 100%. All right, I think we're gonna get to we're coming to the conclusion. Here's what I would like to know: how do I want to work in HR?
Okay.
And what's the best way to go about becoming working in HR at a casino?
So, I mean, my story is so different because I just kind of fell into it.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't get juiced in or nothing?
I was a journalism poli-sci major in college. Yeah, I was a double major. And I was working at the gym at UNLV. And it was when they built the brand new one. We were giving tours. I was not even scheduled for this tour. This is such a Vegas story. So I said, all right, Friday, 8 a.m., I'll cover for my friend. That's fine. Ends up being all of the executives from the gaming community. So
really?
City Center had just opened. And then, so I got the vice president of hiring for, at the time, Harris Entertainment. Happened to be on the tour, and she said, you have the most amazing attitude, the way you speak to people, and there were so many opportunities where people asked you hard questions. This could have gone south, and you just recovered. Here's my card. If you ever need a job. And probably 2 weeks later, I was working in the employment center. But I think if you aren't fortunate enough to kind of fall into a career that turns into a passion, I think being a part of the different organizations, like SHRM is a big resource. I go to the SHRM conferences every year. I still have yet to get established in the chapter out here, but there's local SHRM events that you can go to, and
Human Resources Management.
Society of Human Resources Management.
There
yes,
you go.
Sorry.
Yes.
Forgot.
I'm such a big nerd. I remember somehow someone. Maybe Don was telling me about it. Yeah.
So getting involved in that, and just kind of being relentless in your pursuit for it and being willing to work from the ground up. When I was at one of the strip properties, we had a coordinator who had a master's degree. You know what I'm saying? And he had a higher degree than I had, and he had to start as a coordinator. And at the time, I was an advisor or a specialist or something like that, but I was on the engagement side, and he really wanted to be in employee and labor relations. So I think in gaming, HR, there's still this element of really paying your dues.
Yeah.
And people in HR never leave in this town. That's why I had to leave, because it was
really?
Impossible to get promoted.
It's hard to move up.
It's so hard to move up. That's why I've moved so much, because every move was a promotion.
Are the OSHA technical people, are those attached to HR, the people that train at OSHA levels?
It depends on the organization. That's typically under risk and safety, which can fall under HR, but more likely falls under finance.
Interesting.
Or legal.
Because some of those guys make bank. Holy smokes.
Yeah, because you got to be trained
top
in all
level
of that.
OSHA training.
There's so many 300 hours or something.
How to work the microwave in under 2 minutes, dude. It's amazing. I swear to God. This guy took this OSHA class, and he was explaining to me all the dangers that come from using, all the different things that they use in the kitchen. I was like, holy crap, you teach this stuff? Oh my God, dude. I don't know how to use a microwave. That's terrible. Okay, so and it's a great living. It's a great career. There's a lot of.
It is, especially if you really are like a lifelong learner and you're just like constantly curious. That's why like I tell people now when I interview, I'm not an HR person. I'm an operator's HR person. You know, like I get along with the chefs. I get along with the table games, the surly table games supervisors and managers, you know. Yeah. I can work grave shift. I've, you know, been to the dungeons for EVS and, you know.
Wow.
There's usually in the basement.
Yeah. They have dungeons.
Yeah, we have dungeons. I mean, we do have interrogation rooms.
Yeah, no, I know. I think it's a fantastic thing, man. You know, you are easily one of the smartest HR people I've ever met. And I don't mean that just because you're sitting next to me. I've had some. I remember just leaving your office because when I originally went with Alex, I've always been very skeptical of HR people. In the past, they've always been the cog with our school.
And they don't understand dealers. They don't understand table games.
They don't understand table games. I talked to them about conversion. I talked to them about retention and the quality training. You know, we recently, there's a casino recently gave away a $1,500 bonus, which is a great thing, to people to learn dice. And what they got is a mixed result of some people know, you know, so what they offered was, and you know who you are out there, I'm just going to throw this out there because this was not worked out with HR. This was worked out on this side. They gave them $750 bonus to sign up for the class and another $750 bonus if they end up dealing dice for so long. But here's the thing, right? Because no one bothered to ask all the real tough questions is, everybody's signing up for the class for $750 bucks, dude. But how many people are going to actually learn and stay? And once you pass that class, come see David. I have better jobs for you, because there's no incentive. $750 is nothing to stay 3 months or 4 months or 5 months. Right. If you move on, if now you know dice, you can move on to the next property and make that money in 2 weeks.
I was going to say, yeah.
So like these are the things that people just pull out of their ass, and you know, having these conversations constructively makes no sense. I want the dealers to get a bonus, but I also want to help the casino get a qualified employee with actual skills and not just, you know, run it down. You know, it's just so hard to have these conversations about retention and conversion and cost. A lot of casinos, they don't want to spend any money.
Yes.
And they don't understand the costs involved in.
Because nobody ever budgets money in HR because it's a non-revenue generating department.
That's it. But there are real costs in acquiring talent, retaining talent.
Absolutely.
Because training talent, bringing them up to speed with whatever. So if you're bringing someone in and they're only with you they don't even meet their probation and now they moved on, now you have to get another person.
$4,000.
Yes. So an average of $4,000.
Cost of a new hire.
Yes, one of the biggest network properties in town. They came up with almost that exact, just a little bit under that exact money. Now, I have demonstrated in a very material way how our school can lower that cost, the cost of training, retention, conversion, and it's amazing, the blank faces, the blank stare. You were the first person to be like, I'm in.
It makes perfect sense.
I mean, you know, you get a qualified, you know, and you know what's funny is like one of the things that you did was you weren't afraid of, because so this casino paid up front for the training. And it wasn't a lot. It wasn't like, you know, but
right.
I know one of the conversations we recently had this with another property who was considering this. So we knew that a few would fall from the cracks. They would go through the training. You would have had paid for it, and they weren't going to get through, and you're going to be out X amount of dollars, right? And that's just part of it, but nowhere near. But ultimately, the savings was just so through the roof that was a, you know, the risk you took. It's not, you know, it's not the biggest deal. And so what? You know, you manage.
It's a small cost of doing business.
That's it. And you know, having these conversations with you was such a godsend. I remember driving away from that meeting. I was like, holy crap, dude, this is the first person that gets it. I mean, I think that you have educated yourself on all these areas of gaming. It's very impressive. Some people in HR, they're very. They're in their space. You know, they don't know a lot about the table games. They don't know a lot about the needs of the casino, you know, the floor space. And so there's all these different conversations. You have table game directors having one conversation, HR having another conversation, and getting them together is just tough.
It's something about being in HR in gaming, you know, it gets a bad rap. It can feel like it's the most least respected department, right? Because we don't make any money. So not a lot of people are going to listen to us. So the best way you can establish credibility is to know everybody's business.
That's
so
right.
that when they say, I didn't have enough time to finish my performance reviews, I can say, really? Because utilization last night was garbage, and I know that the floor was not busy.
Yeah.
You know, so to be able to speak that language to someone is empowering for the HR person. And it kind of checks people a little bit to kind of say, oh, they actually get it. Maybe I should now learn some of these HR 101 things, like how to have good coaching conversations,
100%.
you know, because we typically always have to ask, like, you've got to do this, you've got to follow the rules, you got to learn the policies, you got to know about ADA and HIPAA and everything else. And why should that person learn about it when they're in table games or slots, you know, if you don't know anything about their business?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you're the soft money king. I don't understand, because it's hard to have the conversation about being a frontline, where frontline employees are the point of conversion. That's why people stay. That's why they play. That's why they spend money in every case. If you don't have that customer service experience, and you're the door, you're the one that's moving these people in, you're responsible for getting them trained, getting up to speed, making them part of the team. I mean, if anything, I know I get it. There's no dollar figure associated with every time that door opens.
Yeah, nothing goes on the bottom line.
Yeah, nothing goes.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the success of a property really stems from, starts with HR and ends with HR. I think in many cases, right?
Oh, definitely.
I mean, if I'm not having a good time and I can't get support from HR, I'm out the door. I'm looking for something else, right?
Absolutely.
I'm not going to be the happy employee. All right, let's finish this off. Do we have any questions? And
I do. I've been saving questions throughout the show.
Wow.
And
Really?
I still have super chats that
Super
that
chats
you didn't let me
too?
get through.
Oh my God, he's so
question
busy.
for Jen.
Sorry.
Has the gaming industry factor in the cost of housing on non-local and getting to non-locals to work there?
So great question. I think for, regional areas I know that there's a property in upstate New York that does provide team member housing because it is such a remote area. And I think it's for very cheap. I don't know if it's completely free, but their tribal gaming, they've been making money hand over fist for years, so they can just kind of spend it on whatever they want. They don't have any more bills to pay, you know what I mean? So they've invested all of that back into their team members by building some of that housing and having amazing benefits. Here in Vegas, it's not as prominent. I think there's the closest you're going to come to that is maybe, if the HR team has established some sort of relationship with different apartment complexes and helping to get maybe first month's rent free or something like that, that's usually more typical. It's highly, it just doesn't really happen that the casino is going to build their own spot. And if they do, it's sometimes in racing, like horse racing, that you'll see that there's dormitories and stuff, and it's usually to house like interns or seasonal team members.
We do have a casino, by the way, that's a little out of the way, and they house, so for the first 30 days, they offer you a room at the property for $10 a day.
Oh, I wonder where
that is.
that is.
So if you're in transition and you're looking for by the way, it's a great property, pays well, it's highly incentivized, it's well managed, casino managers are fantastic. So it's a little out of the way. So if you're interested, we have those opportunities.
That's amazing.
We're also networked with a few casinos. So if there's somewhere you'd like to move once you become trained as a dealer, there are some that offer moving allowances and first 2-3 months residences.
That's true.
In remote areas, if you're willing to move from here, and in many cases, especially if you're an experienced dealer, and especially if you know craps, they'll come out, kiss your ass, and gas up your car, quite literally. All right, what do you got?
Oh, Reno gave us a super chat for $20.
Reno?
Our Reno.
Is he?
Says probably getting fired by their HR soon.
Yeah, he's off right now, though. Good for him.
Well, thanks, Reno.
We love Reno.
Robert Barnes says, what Ohio casinos did Jen work for? I don't know if she can answer that.
It was for one of the largest regional operators. I can tell you it was in Youngstown. How about that?
Oh, there you go.
And then, so LVD Jen says, just wanted to thank Jen for the valuable insights for those who want to relocate to Vegas and needed the insights.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And then Derek says, have you learned the new casino term, Jasmine? It's going to go viral through Vegas.
Oh, my God. He's such a little bastard, dude. He you know what I mean? We have some fans of ours that just, can I say they suck? Can I send out my assless chaps to this young man and just let him parade around?
Now these are questions that aren't super chats. People who are just asking in the
chat.
chat.
Ask away.
Andrew says, How similar are or different are hiring process that casinos are looking for in Vegas versus other jurisdictions? How do benefits compare?
They can be very different. The biggest difference is going to be in your time to starting work. It's the biggest barrier in regional properties. East Coast, you're looking at, like in Maryland, you were looking at 2 to 4 weeks easy. And like 2 weeks for non-gaming, 4 weeks for gaming, because they license everybody. The OCCC, like that is one of the hardest regulators in the state of Ohio. It could be 4 to 6 weeks. Illinois has that problem, like pretty much everywhere, that the time from when you apply to actually starting could be weeks. What was the second half of the question?
The second is how do their benefits compare?
Benefits will compare mostly by, I would say, size of the employer and location. Like Wynn is known for having excellent benefits out here. The Venetian, former ownership was known for having excellent benefits. I don't know now that it's transitioned, but I'm pretty sure that all of their benefits were paid for. Like team members did not pay premiums, period, at all levels.
Yeah.
So do your research. I would just honestly try and call, or when you make those connections with other dealers or other folks in the industry, they know what their benefits are.
So
a
little note about the licensing. So here in this state, in Nevada, the licensing is, I wouldn't say dialed in, but it's been very streamlined.
Yeah.
It happens almost instantly. As long as there are no red flags immediately, gaming usually sort of passes you through. If there is something they have to investigate, there might be a little delay, but it's usually pretty quick. I've had some people who have been passed by gaming and then not passed by gaming.
Revoked,
and then revoked later because there was some other thing that they had.
They'll find it.
In other jurisdictions, it's not. These states have taken it very seriously. They're very new to gaming regulations. When I worked in Louisiana, it was the Treasury office, the state treasurer that managed, and it was a relatively new thing. I opened up Players in Lake Charles, and so outside of tribal gaming, which kind of did their own thing, kind of what I mean. They weren't beholden to a lot of other jurisdictions, but it took a while. I believe it was 2 months.
Did you have to do an in-person interview as well?
I didn't. I don't remember doing an in-person interview.
Okay.
I remember being on the phone though.
Okay.
I remember speaking to somebody on the phone and having a conversation or having an interview on the phone. Because I was at the very earliest stages of the riverboat. Riverboats being out. So I'm guessing that they had worked. In fact, the casino itself, as it went out to sea, basically, it was under the jurisdiction of the Coast Guard. There was no gaming commission. It was a Coast Guard that boarded us. They counted down our birds and had things. It was quite something. It was very different because the Coast Guard had jurisdiction over the waterways.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a bit of a hodgepodge kind of experience. But I do know that these new state regulators have gone through incredible lengths to make sure that no one is involved that has any kind of weird background. In fact,
crazy stories.
There are some people in like in New York that you would not be able to work, whereas you might be able to work in Vegas.
And it depends on the regulator, and like tribal, they can pretty much do whatever they want as well. I've known tribal regulators who, if you had been arrested, not even had a felony or I think, but if there was some sort of charge, like you could never be employed.
Yeah, tribals can be tough.
Yeah.
I know some tribes that don't do business with, they have really long, lengthy application processes, especially even if you want to do business with them. Even if you want to provide goods and services to them, they go through this whole process. You can't just show up. A casino, for the most part, you could just open your trunk and start pulling some stuff out and be like, hey, I got this great toilet paper. You know what I mean? You can't do that.
Right. Yeah. It's very interesting. Tribal gaming is very interesting because they really are on sovereign land and they can ignore
however they want.
Depending on the compact of the state.
Yeah, depending on the compact with the state. And it used to be on tribal properties as well. If you weren't, they reserved a lot of their jobs for their own members.
Yes.
So there was this thing where
They
went.
get first preference.
They get first preference. So I was offered a tribal contract. It was 1 year exactly. Then get the hell out. And we by then our people be trained, and they were pretty explicit in that. I mean, they're very open and been like, this is how it works. Like, we want to take care of. This is the first time we've had a casino and jobs for our own people, and there's this thing. All right, what else you got?
H2O says, after spending close to 20 years in retail and basic customer service, how much does that take into consideration in employment when it comes to dealing?
So for dealing, I mean, I think that's a totally different can of worms. I mean, really, what we care about if you're applying to be a dealer is, have you gone to dealer school and have you worked anywhere else as a dealer? And if you haven't worked anywhere else as a dealer, it's important to have someone like David on your side, really kind of saying this person is great and helping you navigate where are the break-in properties. If you've never been a dealer before, you're not going to be able to go and work at a Bellagio. You're just not. I was at Deuce's Wild not too long ago, or Joker's Wild.
Joker's
Wild over, and it's so fun. I closed it down.
Oh,
Closed
really?
down the pit. Yeah.
Wow.
And but the dealer, I was admiring her skills, her hand skills, and just how precise she was, and come to find out she was one of yours.
Oh, really? Yeah, we put a lot of them
yours.
there. Yeah.
But you have to know which properties will, kind of take you, and you do have to kind of put in your dues there for a little bit of time. But if you can progress and show that you are a good dealer and you can move faster and you can deal more hands per hour while still maintaining game integrity and game protection, you'll be able to find those other higher paying jobs pretty quickly.
I mean, my short answer is, if you've been someone that's been about customer service, you have a personality, and you've sort of fine-tuned that, and you've worked through a lot of the conversations. Retail is kind of like different bags of retail. I know that there's retail here, for example, a fashion show. We're in the fashion show mall. We have a lot of high-end retailers, and they look for people with retail experience that can kind of lock it down with these customers that have a certain level of, you know what I mean? Like if you want to work at the Gap,
engage,
in Meadows, as opposed to, which is a local mall, as opposed to working here, it's a little different experience.
So much shade on Meadows.
I know, sorry. We love Meadows. I'm just saying, it's a locals place. You can kind of get away with being a little grumpy. Here, you don't have the luxury of that. You got to be sort of spot on. So, I've run into a lot of retail people, and they deal with customers in many different ways. But you'll find the engagement at of retail clerks here a little different. Seems a more high scale. They're more interested in in engaging you right away. And casinos, by the way, love that. I mean, that's how you pass these group interviews. By demonstrating some excitement, engagement, talking. If you're just someone who's folded a lot of shirts, that's probably not going to help you so much.
Right.
And then ultimately, of course, you need to just go through the dealer, but. I will tell you this. I focus on these things. I'm at the school every day, as much as, well, not every day, but most of the time. And I love, I get to know you as a person, not just, you being a dealer. You have a personality, and, some people don't like to talk so much. And strangely, there are casinos that still hire you. It's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to be the most extrovert. There's a lot of local places. In fact, I think I know you talk about Joker's Wild. And she's okay. She loves it there. She doesn't need to go anywhere else. So she's happy there. It's a very comfortable job for her. Of course, she's not there anymore because I think they closed their dice game. That was a while ago. No, how long ago was that?
I was playing blackjack.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh, recently?
I know. I never played
Really?
blackjack. I always play craps.
Yeah.
But no, it was a little while ago.
It was a little while ago. So, everybody has their own sort of cup of tea, and so we try to find your niche. But anyways, until we get to know you, we don't know. Yeah, that's the thing.
Robert Warren says, could a dealer advance into a casino host position?
100%.
I think so, for sure.
Happens all the time.
Yeah. Again, you're starting at the lowest level of host, right? You're not going to be that host who's going to have this comping authority because you don't have a book, right? So it's putting in your dues probably anywhere in the gaming industry. But if you want to make that change, it's a different way of life in the host world than dealers, but if that's what you enjoy and what you want to pursue, I think any casino operator would be happy to facilitate that transition. They're gonna want you to.
When she says book, she means a book of names.
Oh,
you don't have your own customers.
Correct.
Not everybody knows the book.
The book.
Yeah. So there's different levels of being a host. So some people start as a slot host, but dealers definitely. I've known. I myself was offered a job at Caesars. to be a casino host. So they have casino hosts, they have executive casino hosts,
VIP hosts,
they have
junior
VIP hosts. And then really the ultimate host is you have your own book of players and you make a little piece of, there's a lot of incentives to bring those players in and help them lose their money.
Exactly.
You get paid more
and
when they
make them
lose.
feel better when they've lost their money.
Yeah, you make them feel better. You know what I'm saying? Strangely enough, but I know someone who was a pit manager of a casino. He worked himself up as a dealer, not college educated. He was a dealer in a suit. This is one person I would tell you I was not a really fond of, to be honest with you. But he was very very engaged. He was very aggressive, and he had this way with VIPs. And he knew a couple. He got to know them as pit manager really well, and they liked him. And next thing you know, they promoted him and they made him a host, and he created a book out of literally like 5 people. That's all he needed. They were all $1 million players, and he evolved that space. But
amazing.
Very, very doable because knowing the games is important. I mean, every host needs to know the games that their customers are going to play. So the more intimate you know the game, and because if you're a big craps player, and you want David to come out with you and host your game because you want somebody who can talk about the game and how you won or how you lost or the dealers that sucked, right? So having context is big.
100%. And there's a lot more now toward there's Latin marketing hosts, there's Asian marketing hosts, especially here. So yeah, I think I hired a host in HR. She started as
oh really?
She was like a junior host or something. Decided that wasn't really what she wanted, and I met her. And honestly, she didn't have HR experience. I was like, you know what? Come on over. I think you're a person I can take a chance on. So I think the movement is definitely there.
100%. All right, what else you got? We got to end this soon.
Sorry.
It's past our bedtime.
We have a couple more questions.
All right, go.
If someone were to move out to Vegas, what would be the best job to secure for job security?
Oh God, that's a tough question.
That is a tough question. I mean, for job security,
when it comes to
I know the one casino. I literally have one answer for you.
Oh, is it what casino? Or
I know
what
exactly
position?
what casino. There's literally no other casino.
They didn't say casino, just a position.
What position offers the best job security? What casino?
I could tell you the number one casino. The one casino that if you got hired at, they have a. So during the pandemic, the man that owns and manages this casino literally put in his own money to make sure that not a single person got laid off. It was at South Point.
Yeah.
And Michael Gaughan is quite easily. I've worked for him when I was at the Gold Coast. As far as a casino owner and operator, to my opinion, bar none, is one of the greatest that Vegas has ever known. If you don't know who he is, he's the son of Jackie Gaughan, who opened El Cortez Plaza, opened Barbary Coast, that's now Cromwell later on, but that was Michael Gaughan's first. Then he jumped to Gold Coast. Oh yeah, I can give you the whole history of Vegas right here. David had been around a few times, and he opened the Gold Coast, and then he moved to the Orleans, and then the South Point, Suncoast. But a fantastic casino operator. If you wanted to go to one place and you were a good employee, very unlikely you would ever get laid off or fired from that job. As far as the position, I will tell you the one position I think is the most insulated from things that go on, and that's security. Okay. Right? Because you always need security. In fact, even up till now, Texas Station and Rancho, they still had the security guards.
Yeah.
When the Horseshoe shut down, when the Binion shut down during the pandemic, that parking lot, I actually got a call because I know a lot of veterans here in town that were living out of this shelter. They were between and stuff, and so they were looking for security that were capable of having a gun and working outside security. And they not only did they train them, by the way, Binions did. They hired them at great pay. They put all these essentially homeless, but they were veterans that were living in this shelter. It's not I hate to call them homeless. They were sort of in between homes. Let's put it this. There was a transition house. And they paid for their weapons. They paid for the all of it. It was fantastic. Apart from that, what are your thoughts?
So I will say this: when I think about job security, security is a good one because in order to have a casino be open, you have to have a certain number of security officers in place, right? That's a fun little fact. If you don't have a certain number of casino or of security officers, you can't open your doors.
Right.
It also in the event of COVID, we still had security. Security was still working because we were still there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we still went into the office and everything, and then also there's a lot of assets there you have to protect. But I would say job security, I think surveillance is something that you struggle to fill, and so when you get those people, you want to keep them. It's also pretty, it pays pretty well.
Really, yeah.
Slot performance. So our slot technicians, that is a difficult job to get trained up into. So if you can find somewhere that will train you, that is huge. And that's one of the ones you're always worried about, losing your slot techs, because what are you going to do if you lose them, you know?
We are working on adding a slot tech school with one of the most one of the best slot tech support companies in town.
Okay.
We are actually going to be building out to a new location with a new. All right, and surveillance, that's so great. By the way, if you can stay awake long enough to be in surveillance, which is quite literally the problem.
Right, that's one we don't care if you have a personality.
Yeah, and you don't need a personality. You just have to be wakey
all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you enjoy like catching card counters or you know really like, it's actually pretty cool what those folks can do, men and women.
I get asked so much how hard it is to be. It's not hard at all to get started, by the way. You'll be amazed at how many casinos are clamoring. Now, the big ones won't hire you immediately.
Correct.
You know, you have to start, but David knows. I won't tell you where you have to start. I want to catalog that, but there's a few places that you can start at and move on. And it's for a lot of.
I can give you a referral for someone who always hires people. with
really?
no training.
Fantastic.
And puts them through their own training program.
And they love it if you know the games, because you're going to be watching the games.
Yes.
So go there with some knowledge. Take the 3 games and go to surveillance. You don't have to be a dealer. You can go right to surveillance. If you know dice is big. Huge in the surveillance department. Now, I tell people straight up, but before they get involved, because there's a lot of glamour and romance attached to for some reason, being in surveillance.
To surveillance, really?
You're not a detective or an investigator. You are sort of a detective, but you're going to be on a joystick looking at monitors. It can get really slow and tedious. You know, you're going to be you're not going to be that guy undercover on the floor.
Correct.
Until you get some experience, and that's another level of.
It's going to be HR calling, saying like, "Can you please see what EVS George did with the trash from the HR office, because somehow like somebody's application got leaked and their personal information's out there." Like, it's not as sexy as you might think it is.
It really isn't. Now you can evolve. I went to someone, strangely enough, from Vegas to Louisiana, it was a director of surveillance for a casino that I was working at, who offered me a job working on the casino floor. And you know, he had a sexy ass job, dude. He was an investigator, and he had his PILB thing, and you know, his private investigator, and you know, he would go around undercover and you know, look for. He was part of all these investigations, but the people he hired, not so much. But it can be a lot of fun. We've had quite a few people, especially on the dice. Learn dice. Come learn the games and learn dice. You'll have it can be a really rewarding career, and it's a well-paying job for sure.
Yeah, but you have to be able to keep a secret, because you'll have all the secrets, and you have to be okay with not having that recognition on property. We are very protective of everyone in surveillance. Their photos don't go out, their names don't go out. Like, I had surveillance people win Employee of the Month before, but we don't post anything for them, you know. We post pictures of Batman or something like that instead.
You usually access. You wear plain clothes. You access a different area.
Yes.
You're not wearing a badge.
You're kind of like really.
I knew someone in surveillance, strangely enough. Well, sort of. I won't go into detail, but anyways, I would see them in the EDR, and they were front desk. They were part of the reservation system.
Administration.
Yeah, and they were like, "Listen, dude, I know what you're doing up there, okay?" And you have to come up with some cool name when you call down. You can't say what your name is. You got to be like, "Hey, this is Batman."
Well, we have an issue now because we got 7 more questions.
Go 7 more. Let's get a roll.
Well, would your political posts have made a difference in your chances of getting hired?
Political posts? Ooh.
Because we're talking about social media posts.
Sure. I think it depends on the position. Honestly, if you're going in a high volume role like table games or something like that, to be fair, the HR teams don't have the manpower to be looking at everybody's social media. Now, if you're a well-known social media person who's out there, you know, you've got thousands of followers and that kind of thing, that could come back around, but if you're working for a company that follows the law, they would not make any judgments about your employment status based on your political leanings, as long as it's nothing that's like hate speech or potential to lead to violence.
Yeah. You're not threatening anyone, or you're being aggressive, overtly aggressive.
Right, exactly.
David's truth thing is, I will say that I'm going to add this in, Jen.
Like
I don't need any
HR
commentary. Sorry, I'm not HR.
That's fair.
I'm not HR. As a dealer, it's not a thing. If you move up the ladder, it becomes more a thing. There are definitely people in those positions that, they'll say, hey, yeah, you're a great fit, but then, they ghost you, and that's not a thing. You know what I mean? So if the more vocal, if you're looking for a top job in gaming, you should be apolitical. You shouldn't espouse. I do know people who have either one way or the other just for the fact of being very outspoken.
Correct.
Have been overlooked for positions, and it really didn't matter whether they were too conservative or too liberal. I will say there's a lot of conservative bosses in Vegas that sort of run the roost. Although it's changing, it's becoming more liberal, just as a statement of fact and what I've experienced. But for the most part, the real takeaway is if you're too vocal, either way, they want people who are just going to be in the center, not bring their politics to work, not have those issues. You're right. I have a supervisor who is a flat earth, crazy flat earther all day long, dude, lecturing me on the flat earth thing.
Let's not get into that story.
Oh, really? Oh, that's a great story. That's going to be David's story next up. I'm gonna add that to my thing. Flat earther, crazy boss. Go ahead, buddy.
So someone asked, I have a long history of F&B supervisor / management, but want to expand to entertainment / casino. Would I even get an interview?
So I'm confused on entertainment.
So you know what? I will tell you this. Listen. There's a lot of F&B associated to entertainment venues here in Vegas. There's a lot of dinner theaters. There's a lot of food and beverages has become much more central to that experience and that space. I know someone recently who has promoted, took over a pretty big role handling not food so much, but the beverage service to a really large, a couple large theaters. A great flipping job. Came from F&B, moved into this, and they basically oversee all the girls, all the service that goes out into these venues. So lots of opportunity, and 100%.
And I think if I reframe it in my head as like nightlife, I think absolutely, right? Because really at the end of the day, it's just hospitality and being able to understand budgets and, COGS, your cost of goods and services and that type of thing. So yeah, absolutely.
But by the way, a lot of F&B jobs right now in Vegas. I mean, really, I have a friend of mine that ran nutrition, and now runs F&B at a huge venue. Literally went from nutrition, F&B.
Just a weird leap.
Well, I mean, because they were running a big department. They were managing people and resources and budget, and they were managing nutrition. It was a large medical space, and then they moved that into F&B. I mean,
interesting.
The skill set transferred, let's just say, even if the food didn't.
The knowledge,
Went from Jell-O to you know what I mean, a ham sandwich.
Next question is all the production / audio video staff at casinos hired through the union in Vegas?
No, sometimes it can. I don't know that I've ever had an AV team that was union, to be fair. But a lot of time it is third party. A lot of time it's not even employed by the casino. And if they are employed by the casino, they usually roll up through marketing. So if you are looking for that job, go under the marketing section, or sometimes IT. Sometimes it's kind of shared between the two, but oftentimes it is third party.
Yeah, there's quite a few marketing companies now. There's actually quite a few media companies here in town. In fact, Mark
they get
Wahlberg.
The whole convention space.
Yeah, that work for the convention space, do displays, audiovisual stuff. They might have union. Just it varies.
That's the convention folks do, yeah.
Oh yeah, you can't touch a nail at the convention. You gotta get paid to touch a nail. Don't touch a nail, dude. Don't even think about it. I have a friend of mine that was on a tear out team, tearing out carpet, and they went to pull a nail to get a nail out of the damn thing, and they tackled his ass, dude. He wasn't part of the nail committee.
I couldn't use a ladder.
I know.
It's because you that.
Oh, I have so many stories about that. It's not even fun. But anyways, okay, go ahead. What do you got?
John R. said, would you ever institute a swear jar? Our HR wants to. Interesting question.
Swear jar?
A swear jar?
Is that legal?
I don't
like
know.
to put one in the HR office?
I don't
Yeah.
know. Apparently, his HR
Every
wants to
time
do
you
it.
swear to
That's
pay.
so
and
funny.
if you're giving it to charity, why not?
You know, it wouldn't work in the HR office. We swear too much.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
That
we're
makes
the
sense.
You would
worst.
be in thousands of
I
dollars.
really would
you
be.
have such a potty mouth. You and Alex together, man.
It's bad. It's
you would have to
actually
get out
bad.
a loan
This
to
is
cover
like,
that.
You've seen the HR side. You
Yeah.
should see one like slip onto the other side.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's fantastic.
HR people and teachers, man. We
Really?
swear a lot, and we're both alcoholics.
I
Oh
agree.
my God.
Wow.
Well, someone asked, what if you had a felony expunged?
I think it depends on your jurisdiction. I don't know that I've ever seen that come back on a background check. I don't know what that would look like. But if it's been like wiped and cleaned from your records, then I would think theoretically it would be. But I don't know.
So here in Vegas, Nevada, it's a 10. So 10 and 3 is usually the standard a lot of casinos use. So they don't look past 10 years, and then for felonies, and 3 years on misdemeanors. So a lot of times just use that as a basis. Some do more,
Right.
some do less. Some they don't really care. If the misdemeanor was something like, I forgot to pay a power bill, or I got pulled over for a
Right,
parking ticket, not a
right.
big deal. So it really depends. And most of what the gaming commission is looking for is financial crimes. That's the big ticket out.
Or violent crimes.
Or violent crimes. So
Yeah.
if you're someone who has a predisposition for being violent, or you've passed a check, a bad check's a bad. I know someone who passed a check many years ago and still just cannot get into gaming whatsoever. So. And if it's for more than $500, it's literally
A misdemeanor?
yeah, no, it's a felony, I believe.
Oh, is it a felony over 500?
In California, you guys, poor California, it's got to be over like $1 million for it to be considered a felony. You know what I mean? But anyways, there's a little political play, huh? Terrible. They're gonna love you, me. Not, you know what I mean? It's in the air.
It's a good thing you have this podcasting gig.
No, I need balance. I know. My singing career is up next, dude. That's gonna be short. I know. Look at that. Look at that hair, dude. Fantastic, buddy. All right, what do you got?
Do casinos ever look internationally, or would they ever consider applicants from Canada, for example?
Yes, absolutely, but it does depend very much on the position and if you are legally able to work in the United States without sponsorship. If you have to be sponsored, the cost of that to the company is really high, but on top of that, it's a lot the company has to prove. We have to essentially we have to post the position, then provide all those applications and prove why none of these applicants would have been a good fit for that position. Do they meet the minimum qualifications for that position based on the job description? It's an arduous process to go through, and typically not one most casinos will spend time on. And I've known casinos who have done it and tried to do it because they had a personal interest in a person, and they still couldn't get it passed because it's difficult.
Yeah, because you have to show that someone local or someone that's already applied
Correct.
can't fill that role.
Correct.
And you would rather give it to somebody from some other country. Interestingly, I was here many years ago when a lot of IT departments in casinos that were growing up and incorporating, websites, and they were starting to, create servers and player card systems and all these things, right? Because it went from paper to computers, somewhere in like the mid to later 90s. These companies are making, these massive investments, and guess what? They were pulling from countries that had people in the IT space. And it was easier then because, the U.S. just didn't have those kinds of talent. And they would bring people from India and from Russia and from different places where people were willing to work and have that talent. And then somehow, I used to have a friend of mine. He was from India, and he would come. He worked for one of the casinos here, and he worked every year. And then years later, then it became a national lottery. He would manage to get on their lottery, so he had a work visa to come here. And then, of course, the lottery got smaller and more specific. It was very difficult. So that whole thing has changed. We've had a few people from Canada who have come out to learn at CEG. And one of them wasn't able to tried to get a green card to work here, and found a casino that might have been interested, especially he knew dice. But just like Jen was saying, they just weren't willing to make the investment in time.
Yeah.
I do know people that they have a new program, by the way, that's a college-based program. So if you're here at UNLV as part of the hospitality program, and you get like a year to kind of do the job that you're training to do. You kind of
J1
get a
visa.
yeah. What is it
I
called?
think it's a J1 visa if you're already graduated.
Yeah.
So I have done stuff like that where you're essentially a part of their kind of their programs, and it's like it's 1 year kind of a thing. Yeah, and we've looked at the Philippines and India and different places where they do have really big hospitality programs.
And we recently had 2 foreign students that were part of this program, and they got hired because I was surprised. I didn't think I thought the casino would just be like, you know what, just a year, not a big deal. But they hired them.
Yeah.
They were happy to hire them. Yeah. For the year, I mean, I guess. And what happens after a year? Do you know?
I don't know. I know that they probably go home, or they figure out a different way to kind of extend their visa. But you, as an employer, you have to put together their program because they're students. So you're putting together, this is how they're going to learn over the course of the year and how it will supplement their education, kind of a thing. But it also doesn't typically pay well. You know what I mean? Because it's essentially kind of outsourcing, like, we might use them in food and beverage, but we're going to kind of use you all over the place at every single restaurant, and we're teaching you these skills, and we will do other things like we were talking about taking out to different farms and stuff like that when in California, and really having this good program, but you're probably getting paid minimum wage.
There you go.
Yeah.
As you heard it here. That's interesting.
And typically to get a J1 visa, you have to prove that you're financially stable enough. So before your country will grant it to you, you have to provide all your financial, records.
Yeah,
it's just
these
like an
people
F1
did
visa
not
for
need a
students.
job. They're happy to have one, but yeah, that's
Right,
true. So I can
exactly.
imagine that's true. All right, what else you got? We almost at the end?
Last question.
Last one.
Hey.
What game does Jen like to play?
Oh.
I'm a craps girl.
Really?
Yeah.
I heard that.
I love craps. I don't like blackjack. It's too much to keep track of the more I drink.
Wait, that's the reason?
I know, but a lot of people are like, their heads have just exploded.
It's so much more like
Really?
fun on the craps table.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
when you know dice, yeah.
I mean, look, I'm not checking to make sure they paid me my odds correctly, or I'm not like counting my chips,
Right.
but it is more fun. I am that person who shoots for a very long time and makes everybody a lot of money and needs to be better about covering
Jen,
all.
we're going out tonight.
You just made a lot of friends on this channel. 100%.
Yeah, I'm always a fun time too.
Yeah, I will say this. Why her and Alex are very good friends. So they love to go out and have fun, and they have like this very sort of friendly, whimsical personalities. They and it's fantastic, man. I mean, if you want to know why I'm, business partner with Alex, I mean, that's literally why. He's a wonderful human being. He won money, by the way, and, won quite a bit of money. If you've been following on Instagram, he's done really well. And what he's done? He's literally gone and given people who lost the night before, given them some money.
To play.
And he gave me money just for, hey, you're my business partner, and I'm up and I'm winning. I mean, that's the kind of person he is. Awesome. He's a very, very generous, good-hearted man. There's no doubt about it.
Definitely.
I mean, and so, but anyways, all right. Less about him, more about me. What's going on? Are we almost at the end of this, or what?
We're good.
We're good? That's the end?
That's the end.
Done?
Thanks
That's it.
everyone for staying. I know we kind of jabbered on
We
for a
did.
second, didn't we?
Thank you, Jen, so much. It's been very informative. This
My
is going to go
pleasure.
down in the annals of history. That's a word, buddy. That is not. I don't even need the Urban Dictionary.
You're trying.
I think
you,
people are gonna
You emphasize
listen here, buddy.
that word.
No
You
one
didn't
wants
have
to see
you don't
all
have
your
to
hair.
put that much emphasis.
on the wrong syllable.
And that's for Alex. It's an Alex-friendly channel. What do you want? All right. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Thank you, Jen, so much.
Thank you guys for having me.
We've raised the bar. Oh my God. What do I get? Who do I get next? Like Mickey Mouse or something? I can't go. No. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye. See you next time.
See ya.
Bye. That was fantastic.